I lose volume in here. So
Okay, so there's been a statement also by the Aramaic Wire has posted out all the atrocities that have happened to Christians inside of Syria. It's like a whole list. I just posted on my feed. It's a good data point. You should grab it, Bree. Hold on one second. Um, uh, oh, wow. Wow. Wait. This is a crazy story. It's a crazy story out of the settlers situation now. Oh my God, I didn't even know this. This is another problem. Okay. Let me grab the video. By the way, I don't know if you saw, did you see the B-2 bombers with the B-52 with the Israeli Air Force protecting them as they refueled, Bree? Did you see that video that came out? The Israeli Air Force is protecting the B-2 and the B-52. It's wild. The video is amazing. It's such a I just posted it. It's like fourth or fifth down if you guys are looking. Um,
No, I didn't see
yeah,
it, but yeah,
yeah.
it's been this is such a rough
I
day.
know.
Um it just I don't
Yeah, I know.
you know, it's just like and
Self-inflicted wounds for
it's
no
just
reason.
it is. And then, just the grift factor of all of this is it's just exhausting to have to look. I'm trying to do the best I can to fight the good fight and expose the grift and also expose the lies. And
Yeah, I'm waiting on people like Calvin to comment at all what's going on in Syria. Like, you know,
yeah, I mean, Syria, Lebanon,
yeah.
I've not seen one account who's pushing out the sorry, I'm coughing. Pushing out the it's all about the Jews nonsense, supporting the Christians' attempt to try to have self-determination, in Lebanon. And again, this is one of the oldest churches in the world, and to think that they're being, and it's the Lebanese. I love them so much. I just had such a great time with the Lebanese. They've always been so incredibly welcoming. When I was in Rome, they were the Lebanese families there were so incredibly opened their doors. Like when I was moving out of Rome, and it was a fast move. One of the Lebanese leaders, like one of the lay leaders, he brought his van, and he literally took like everything that I needed out of the house that I couldn't like sell very quickly. He took it, and he took it to donations. And it was just it's just amazing people, who really understand the need for community. And I've had that here in the States too. It just really is that case. And the fact that I keep getting pinged by Lebanese Christians and thanking me. I mean, to me, it's like it's nothing for me to post, in support of my Christian brothers and sisters, and nothing. It's what it should be expected. But they're coming to me and thanking me for bringing, using my account's small in comparison to so many accounts, right? But my account's organic, and thanks to you guys, like has grown and has allowed for real people to engage. Unlike, a lot of these accounts that are bot farm, amplified. And the story gets out, and it gets out to mainstream. And I think that that's an amazing thing. But these Lebanese Christians are just in dire need of support by the Christian community. And to see them being ignored, to see the Nigerians being ignored, all for the sake of this like Jew hatred, it is beyond bizarre to me.
Well, it goes back to completely demoralizing and just trying to, I don't know. I am so frustrated by this thorough I'm just disgusted with this Jew hatred that colors the lenses of everyone's inabilities, and instead becomes pitchfork wielding mobs, delirious with this hatred and incapable completely of seeing anything else that is happening. It is hypocritical, bearing
Did you
false
see? I mean,
witness.
Did you see the Druze in Syria
Yes.
protecting
Yeah,
the
Yep.
Christians the
yeah,
other
yeah.
day?
Yep.
Like, and we're guys, where is the outcry by the greater Christian population in the world? That, you know, the Druze have had to protect Christians. Christians are protecting Druze.
Yep.
The Israelis have been having to protect the Druze population because the Druze population has come to the Israelis for help. Like, you know, when I was in Israel, I'm sorry, I'm cooking in the background, so hopefully you won't hear that. But when I was in Israel, you know, I met Druze families whose families were all killed by the you know, the bombs coming from Hezbollah, and they were talking about their children. It was just was horrendous. But you know, they were talking and thanking the Israelis for the ongoing protection of the minor population of Druze who live, you know, really at the borders.
Hmm.
Not only did they thank the Israelis, they hosted a group of us who were on this trip. They hosted dinner, and the Druze made all the food and gave it to us out of their out of their own farms, out of their own food. And this is what I have experienced time and again within these Middle Eastern minority cultures, whether it's the Druze, where you know, whether it's been what's the minority Iraqi Christians who were targeted by ISIS, who have the mountain. You guys know what I'm talking about?
The Yazidis.
Yazidis, yeah, the Yazidis.
Hmm.
I've met the same kind of thing. I've done in interviews with Yazidis. I actually interviewed through an interpreter the Yazidi religious leader and his call for support a few years ago to Pope Francis, asking that he could meet Pope Francis and seeking support for the Yazidis who were again being targeted on their mountain. I mean, they still are on their mountain today, intense
And so they're begging
from the
for
time of
help.
these ISIS.
So,
Yes.
so they plead for help and are completely ignored. And why? What is the justification for any of this to be able to, and for the Pope to? I think Brie, you had mentioned just the other day how the Pope had gone to bishops in Africa to ask them to reach out to those who were the Muslim leaders in their area, and this is what's
Yeah,
happening in
he was
Nigeria.
yeah, he was celebrating the Christian dialogue between Islamists and Christians, and he was talking about this with African bishops. And I'm thinking to myself, who advised you? Again, this goes to the Secretary of State. I'm serious about this. It is always the Secretary of State behind a lot of this stuff because there is no dialogue when it comes to Nigerian Christians being slaughtered in Easter. Now, I do expect the Pope to come out and lament this tomorrow. This Pope has been more active in recognizing the minorities, including the Chinese Christians, but this is a part of the course, unfortunately, and it is definitely a wound within the body of Catholicism that has been reaching for decades now to the point where many Catholics, and a perfect example would be Carrie Prejean Bowler and her response to the bishops. Many
Mhm.
Catholics see the bishops as being quote unquote modernist, and there's a lot of evidence to show a lot of that within our bishops. But then they reject, that's how you get them demoralized, and then they reject the authorities of the bishops, which is why, like, when Calvin Robinson responded to me today, to, you know, and he's responded to me in the past too in a vile DM. He was a friend of mine, but he's gone to this mentality of like women should remain silent. Well, I appreciate his sentiments. Thank you for providing me your ideas of things, but Calvin is not a Catholic. He's not a cleric in any form of the word within the Catholic mindset, and he has no authority. And so for this type of behavior, what you do is you push away people who aren't aware that he doesn't have the authority. And this is just, it's an ongoing, sadly, it's an ongoing scandal when you have a vacuum
Mhm.
of strong leadership in the Catholic Church.
Yes, I mean it's definitely so disheartening. It's I struggle with my faith daily, as I'm sure many may, but I struggle with my faith daily, and I am I in the Catholic flock hurt to see fellow Christians around the world being so mutilated and murdered, and yet we don't hear the same consistent, passionate fervor from our leadership when they should when we should be hearing that from them consistently, not just one strong post or one strong video or anything, but a consistent communication, a process, some form of anything that will continue to remind Catholics that this is coloring your perspective, and it is destroying. This is the moral grave sin we talk about. So
So there's been an update from the Israeli police. Did you read this earlier, Bree? So it says again, Israeli police approves prayer outline at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in coordination with representatives of the Latin Patriarch. In a situational assessment held this evening by the Jerusalem District Commander, Deputy Commissioner Avshalom Peled, together with the David Division Commander, Chief Superintendent Dvir Tami, and in coordination with the representatives of the Latin Patriarch, with the intention of allowing all Christian denominations freedom of worship at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a limited prayer outline was approved. Israel police clarified that the restrictions at holy sites without a standard protected space, including the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, stem from from command's guidelines and out of concern for the safety of the worshippers. Should be noted that both the Western Wall Plaza and the Temple Mount are all closed to the entry of worshippers due to concern for public safety. So I don't understand. Let me see here. I don't understand. Let me see here.
can you read that again? I'm sorry.
I just tweeted it out. Can you grab it? It's the
Oh, you
last
did.
post on my
Yep.
feed.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it sounds like this is exactly what I had called for earlier, which is transparency on all sides to talk about the plan of action going forward. So it sounds exactly what I was expecting for a risk analysis assessment and a plan going forward. And yeah, it sounds pretty clear.
Um. Hmm. So this. Let me understand. Was there something before or after? I'm trying to figure out. I don't understand why this was not done properly before with his office.
This statement is for future like the ongoing plans, actions
Okay.
for Holy Week. This has nothing to do with the statement. This is after action statement from today. So clearly the plan that may have been in place was not communicated down the chain adequately, or there was a plan originally in place that was later denied due to the up level of targeting of holy sites, as was stated earlier today. That there was a plan, it was denied. Um, I read somewhere, and I can't confirm this, but I did read that the young soldier who was on duty wasn't even aware of like today being
Yeah, that he didn't know today
Palm
was
Sunday.
Palm Sunday. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like in some ways I kind of laugh at that because you would think that you would think you would know, but at the same time, when you're standing the watch over and over again, it's just another day. So it's very possible that he was standing the watch, he was given his orders, and that's it. You know,
So a second. Somebody put something out. Um. Okay, I need you to read something that was put out about. This is very interesting, Bray. This is like somebody who knows. This is interesting. Go look what I sent to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, um.
You'd be very proud of me. I'm making pesto alla calabrese.
Oh,
Va bene.
nice, nice.
So good. Delicious.
Did you know that Khomeini met with Father Hilarion Capucci? She had here. Let me send this over to you. This is wild. I did not know this stuff.
Who is that?
I
I
have
have
no
no
idea
idea
who
who
these
that
people
is.
are. You go good. You can see the write up.
I'm looking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This guy. We should get. Who is this guy? Let me see if I can get him in here. I don't know when he's posting this. Hold on, because there's a little bit of a history here that's going on that I guess we're not aware of.
But that individual is a Orthodox.
Mm. He was at a. He was in. That's interesting. Is that from Syria or? Yeah,
Possibly Syriac
interesting.
Orthodox.
He's writing it. Let me see here. Is this it?
We saw another Syriac Orthodox the other day
Mm-hmm.
play a little game, right? Recently.
Mm-hmm.
They were part of the what, Jacobites? Was that right? Remember
Mm-hmm.
that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I've never even heard of that group.
I have to admit, when I speak to Assyrians, Chaldeans, Syriacs, Assyrians, and the other ones, who I cannot remember their names, I get very confused.
Yeah,
I
it is
mean,
confusing.
is a Syriac different from an Assyrian, and different from a Chaldean, who's also different from a Aramaean, or a... Uh, uh, I think we should just change their names just to having one name. Call them brown Christians.
Oh, jeez.
So, did you see he was bringing in weapons for Arafat and the PLO? He was released by the Vatican on the condition of abstaining from politics. Immediately violates the agreement. He tours the world calling Jesus the first Fedayeen and becomes an icon of the Palestinian armed cause. Did you know that?
Oh,
Oh
jeez.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not surprising, right? Because we saw this type of
So he
behavior
was a
with
Catholic
another,
Monsignor. It says a Syrian
I
Melkite
guess.
Archbishop, born in 1922.
Malachites are,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
told you
yeah,
I really
yeah.
like the Malachites a lot, but the bishop, the head of the Malachites here in the United States was he arrested or he had to step down because of like corruption stuff? The Malachites will tell you. I mean, like when Zikos is in the space, he'll talk to you about like some of the corruption within. It's where you start to have some of the issues with um, priests being able to get married in these churches. Um, Again, not because the idea of the Eastern Church is wrong. It's because it's a very insulated group and money is tight, and so oftentimes these priests who have families will be involved in other things like businesses and whatnot. And I'm sure that the temptation to be involved in, you know, not completely legal stuff is there as well. So there's a lot of corruption within the church, but there's a lot of corruption in any church. I mean, we see that in the evangelical church as well as the Catholic Church. Money is a big deal. We're seeing it in, let's just be clear, like people who are on X right now are presenting themselves as Catholic, making a grift and making money off of that. That's corruption at its basis, right?
Um,
I just don't know how you can do that, like how you sleep at night. Like that's why I say, like, I always wonder whether or not this is an ideological thing where they actually believe what they're saying.
I don't know. I don't know. But it's like selective denunciations. Um, I don't understand why to make a scandal for no reason when so many Christians around the world are being killed. It's again goes back to the same. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know. But this guy, Rich Raho, he seems, yeah, he seems level-headed at least. I don't know. I mean, oh, now there's been a statement from the Rome Cardinal Rena, Pope's Vicar of Rome, Cardinal Rena.
Oh yeah, so that's the Diocese of Rome, and I have to say the Diocese of Rome has allowed for a um, horrific sex abuser to maintain his residency in the Diocese of Rome. They tend to be quite activist, and so I would just take this with a grain of salt. And I'll say for Rich Reho, I'll just say,
Okay, got it.
I mean, my experience has been never trust,
Mm-hmm.
always verify when it comes to stuff like that.
Archbishop
You
of
know,
Westminster, Richard Moth. There's another here. I'll send you another statement that's going wild now.
yeah, like look, they're gonna, they, most of them have likely not seen the update from Cardinal Pizzaballa.
Mm-hmm.
What they've seen is what was put out as a statement
This
and
is
likely
50.
has been regurgitated. I've not seen whether or not the Vatican News has posted, but my guess is they have. Like this is that they reported this and didn't give an update. And so this is what they these priests remember. Most of them are not on social media on a regular basis. So this is what the priests see, and it's been so amplified at this point. It's likely the only thing that they're saying. Not saying it's right. It's just they probably didn't even see what Benjamin Netanyahu put out. So I should have called you early this morning. I should have just like woken you up
But this,
because we could have gone after
yeah,
this
well,
pretty
we could have,
quickly.
we could have called some people in Israel too, to deal with this. But again, the it goes back to there's so much going on in the world today in general. Even
Right.
it the rejecting war, and one cannot justify the war statements. There's been another update from the Pope also saying, I also wish to entrust to the Lord the maritime workers who have fallen victim to the conflict. I pray for the deceased, the wounded, and their families. Land, sky, and sea were all created for life and peace. Let us also pray together for all the migrants who have died at sea, especially those who lost their lives in recent days off the coast of Crete. But still no mention of of
Yeah.
Christians being killed in Syria or in Nigeria or in Lebanon. I don't understand.
I mean, I haven't seen his full statement today, to be
Okay.
honest, so I don't know. He may have made a statement, but it's being amplified in different ways. And remember, his X account is not handled by him. We talked about that before with Francis as well. I'm going to mute myself
Okay,
so
so
I
I'll
can
send you.
eat.
There's been another statement from Cardinal Pizzaballa. I DM'd it to you. You can go.
Oh, hello, Chris.
Who's?
He's listening. I hope you enjoyed
Oh,
Rome.
he's here. Yeah,
Billboard, Chris.
yeah,
Dan should come up. I'd love to
yeah.
hear
I
from
sent him a
Dan
mic. He didn't
on
come up.
this.
He's flirting with the space for now. Um, yeah, the head rabbi of Israel has gone 30 days without being able to pray at the Western Wall due to security closures. 30 days, the head rabbi of Israel. 30 days, not one day, 30 days. I don't know. Dan, are you here?
Yeah, hi, Stealth. How you
Good,
doing?
how are you?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Hi, Bree. Hi, Angela. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dan. Any thoughts on today?
I'm trying to get to the guy in the video that the ISIS soldier who broke all the glasses of alcohol in his shop. You know, this video that I shared this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the guy. We want to help him. He's in Hama, so I think I have a couple of people trying to locate him. What happened today is just the same nonsense that we're dealing with every day. We have Christians literally being massacred on Palm Sunday today in Nigeria, and Christians are being, persecuted, killed, their shops vandalized, destroyed just yesterday. And all these idiots care about is attacking Israel for stopping two priests from going to the church. It's like, so what? So what if Israel, for any reason, decides to stop them? Is that the headline? Is that what should capture your focus today instead of your brothers and sisters in Nigeria being massacred or in Syria? But of course, it's the same thing.
Dan, can I ask you a
That
question about this? Is
but
martyrdom, because is martyrdom in all sects of Christianity deemed the same as, because in like in Judaism your responsibility is is not to allow for martyrdom, like you're supposed to preserve life no matter what as much as you can, right? So I guess that's my question is, like there was other priests inside of the churches. I guess there's 30 priests inside of the church who were able to, who live there apparently, who were able to do the mass, and so I'm just wondering, like, if that's like not sufficient enough, and why that's not being publicly stated. It was just that Cardinal Pizzaballa with one of his friars and another gentleman were not able to walk through because he hadn't made the proper preparations beforehand, allegedly, but also didn't call the prime minister's office directly, even walking over, which I'm sure they must have cell phones. There's no way they don't have cell phones. So, or at least his assistant that maybe walked with him, or something. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so it depends. In Protestant theology, there's no value in martyrdom over anything else. It's like nothing we can do can contribute to, it doesn't give us any credits, even if we die preaching the gospel or if we die watching TV, it's the same. In the Catholic Church, of course, it's different. Yeah, when you waste your life for Christ, you get more glory. But I'm not really sure they were thinking of martyrdom today when they wanted to go and have the mass. They were just like everyone in the world expect that they're not going to die. It's not going to be them. I'll give you an example. In Lebanon, I lived there for 15 years. And in 2015, there was a lot of explosions and cars exploding all over Beirut. ISIS used to send a lot of cars to Hezbollah region. So people would still go to the same town and just do their business. And when you talk to them, like, how can you go there? Cars are exploding all over the place every day. So the answer is, it's not gonna happen to me. It's gonna happen in other streets, not to me. So people, I don't know, maybe this is like a defense mechanism. It's like, it's not gonna be me. And especially this church was attacked, or there was a missile that hit near the church last week. So in their minds, like, it's not gonna happen again. Israel is using this as a pretext to stop us from doing the mass, and we want to go and worship the Lord, and this is a very special occasion in Christianity. And so that was like the thinking or the logic. It's not about where we are ready to die. We don't care if Iran send us a missile. I don't think they were thinking that way. But it's as I said, it's not about the church. It's about Israel. Even though the Western Wall and other churches, other places there, it's like no one can go there. And I saw you today talking about this during COVID. During COVID, they stopped church services, and no one said anything. But today, it's about Israel. So Yeah, I'm just sick of repeating the same thing every day. So just trying to explain to people, okay, this has nothing to do with Christianity or the church. It's about Israel. What's his name? This guy, Joe Bishop. What's his name? Turning Point. Joe something. Yeah, the one who called for a crusade to protect the church.
Jack Posobiec.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder where is the crusade to save the thousands and thousands of churches being destroyed all over the Islamic world? What about, for example, what about the churches in Egypt? More than 30 churches were burned or destroyed in Egypt last year. Why there is no crusade? Oh, is there one church more important than another? We don't believe that. If we are talking from a theological perspective, Jesus told the woman at the well in John chapter 4, he told her, listen, yes, the temple is not here on your mountain, it is in Jerusalem, but the true worshipers are those who worship God in spirit and truth. So according to Jesus, no building is more important than any building, any other building. All buildings are the same. It's about we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, according to the Bible. In Christianity, we are the temples of the Holy Spirit. So we are the church. Wherever two or more gathered in my name, I'll be there. So why you want to wage a crusade against Israel for restricting worship at a church for security reasons, while you completely ignore the thousands of churches being destroyed in Nigeria, in Egypt? Just last week in Syria, they took the crosses from top of the churches. Are you kidding me?
Right, but Dan, let me follow the line of reason for Jack Posobiec, because you brought up a really good point. Okay, so we called for a crusade. Fantastic. Let's look to France, the daughter of the church, to support the crusade. Wait a second. What's happening in France? France is having churches burned every day by Islamists, so they can't help. Okay, let's turn to England. They are the daughter of the church. Wait a second. We can't go to England because churches are being overrun, and the country's being overrun by raping more hordes of Islamists. Okay, so we can't do England, we can't do France. Let's turn to Spain. Spain is another daughter of the church. Oh, wait a second. Right?
Listen,
So who's going
I
to
agree.
actually do the crusade there?
I agree with you. They are inviting imams all over Europe to recite the prayer calling, the Islamic prayer calling from inside the church. And churches are being taken over by Muslims. They're buying churches, turning them into mosques all over Europe. And Emmanuel Macron, he had the audacity to tweet this morning, oh, I condemn Israel. It's like, you idiot. Go look, clean your house first. And beside that, I believe that Ambassador Huckabee, he made a mistake with that statement. I know that he tried to explain what's going on, but if you stand with Israel and there is a lot of pressure on multiple issues, on too many different things, then you don't choose to get really tough on something like this, where this toughness is not needed. Do you know what I mean? It's like Ambassador Huckabee didn't need this toughness in the statement he made, because it's very obvious. It's what's happening. Israel is not trying to stop the service or the mass from happening. Have you seen the video by Caleb from Arise for Israel?
Yes.
Yeah, so Caleb explained it. He explained that they don't have shelters, and it's not. And I
They don't
believe,
have they don't have bomb shelters at all. That's the main issue. And if you have a bomb shelter, then you can have 50 people or less. But then also one of your other
let me
friends.
ask you this, Stell. You're in America, okay? And Americans in particular, following the law here in America is something that I'm struggling with every day as someone who is coming from a chaotic region like the Middle East. So, for example, if a certain place closes at 4 p.m. and I get there at 4:01, they won't serve me. They will be like, "We're done. No way. We can't change the law." Today, I called a restaurant. Tried to ask. I asked the guy, "Please, can you prepare the food? I'll be there in 10 minutes." He said, "No, I'm sorry. You have to do it through the application." Okay, so following the rules is something sacred in America. So Israel is following the rules. It doesn't matter if it's a church or another building. It's just following the rules. So where's the problem in that? But again, it's about the intention. It's about judging Israel because of what Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and all these people, the narratives they have been pushing for 2 years. So people are alert. They're trying to find anything to avoid this cognitive dissonance, because when you look on the outside on real events, you don't see that Israel is persecuting Christians. But at the same time, you are hearing that, the Jews, they killed Jesus, Jesus is king, the Jews are spitting on Christians on the street of Jerusalem. And so you're trying to find anything to match the narrative that you're hearing. That is the psychology behind it. So you amplify whatever Israel is doing, even if it's as worthless as what happened today. But at the same time, because you're accustomed or you have, adjusted to the fact that Muslims are killing Christians all over the world. So whenever you hear that, Christians are getting killed in Nigeria, you don't pay much attention because, I already know that there's reconciliation there between the outside and the inside, between the ideas and the tangible truth. However, when it comes to Israel, there's no evidence. There's only one video of a crazy Jewish person spitting on a machinery, and that's it. We don't have anything else. But no, there's the church in Gaza. Israel destroyed the church or attacked the church. The first time it was the Iman Hospital. Oh, it was not Israel's. Oh. Then we had this Catholic church and the 3 people killed. And that became like a global story, and everyone was talking about it. Millions of hours, millions of people were repeating that story. But again, holding Israel to different standards, that's the problem. Holding Israel to different standards. If Israel decides today to start persecuting Christians, real persecution on daily basis, killing Christians, after a few years, people will get adjusted and they will stop attacking Israel. That's how I see it. I'm not calling for that, of course. I'm Christian. I love my Christian brothers and sisters. I want to defend them. But I don't see, especially when it comes to Arabic Christians, every single Arabic Christian I know dreams of living in Israel. Dreams of having the same freedom Christians in Israel have. They wish if they can have the liberty to not only worship behind the closed doors of their churches, but to be as free as Christians in Israel. And they don't have that. You look at videos from the Western Wall in Jerusalem, Jewish, Messianic Jews who converted to Christianity for God's sake, proselytizing other Jews, standing at that spot, that particular spot. It is the most sacred spot in Judaism today because we don't have the temple. And they're trying to convert Jews, and no one is killing them. Oh, someone spits at them. So what? If I go to Manhattan today and talk to someone about the gospel, probably someone would spit on me. Actually, it happened to me personally. God is my witness. I'm not making this up. I was talking to some guy in Philadelphia a few years ago. He was homeless on the street, and I was passing by, and
he started talking to me, and I was sharing the gospel with him, talking to him about Jesus and all of that. And another guy, he came and he started cursing me and F this, F that, and yelling at me. That was in Philadelphia, here in the US. So what if someone spits on a missionary in Israel? They didn't behead him. They just spit. So what? So, but again, this is like you need people who are interested in truth to see this, to understand what's really happening. But when people are trying to vilify Israel, demonize Israel, then yes, that spit would turn into something to condemn Israel for years and years and to exonerate Islam completely. And because they cannot hide the truth about Islamic persecution of the Christians, so they decided to say, oh, it was Israel who created ISIS. It was the United States who funded Al-Qaeda. That's how they are exonerating Islam, completely stripping Muslims of their agencies. They don't have agency. It's the Jews. The Jews, they founded ISIS. What about 380 million people who died as a result of Islamic conquest in 14 centuries? No, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about Islamic colonialism. They want to talk about European colonialism. They don't want to talk about Islamic slavery. They want to talk about the white man slavery. So it's very obvious what's happening. This is a rebranding of Islamic Jihad in order to attack the West, and they're using Israel as a gate to enter that arena. They're trying to attack the West through Israel. Of course, there are anti-Semites, and Israel is also targeted. But today, the line between the anti-Israel and anti-West is really disappearing. And anyone who is attacking Israel is attacking the West, is siding with Islam, is siding with the different branches of Marxism, with China. So it is, we need more people to defend the West. It cannot be just a group of people on X. We need more people because the betrayal is coming from within. The betrayal is coming from those who are who are aligning themselves with the left, who are aligning themselves with Islam while claiming that they are defending the West. They are America first, the isolationist, the non-interventionist, those who think that if America is not the word police anymore, then they will maintain their lifestyle and the greatest economy in history, and America would remain the same. They don't understand that that's not going to happen. And if America decides for a second to withdraw, then someone else will fill that vacuum. And though if you are not the word police, you will become the word victim.
Thank you, Dan. No, very well said. I guess I have a question to you, which it seems like a logical question to ask, but in this case of the Pizza Balla situation, had he wanted to go up to the Temple Mount, could he have not just called somebody and been like, "Hey, I'm out here. There's a police officer. He maybe doesn't understand exactly who I am. This police officer's unaware. It's like it's one guy. These are kids that are mostly they're in their like reserve positions or doing their service over there, right? I don't know if Cardinal Pizzaballa, I'm assuming, speaks Hebrew, right? Bree, I mean, I don't know like what language does he speak when he's in Israel.
He speaks English, Italian, Hebrew, and
Okay.
Arabic. Those are the ones that I
Okay, so
know
he
he
does speak
speaks,
Hebrew. Okay.
The Vatican
like
ambassador,
fluently.
I heard him. He made like a very good statement. Have you seen that?
The ambassador of the Vatican to Israel, or the ambassador of Israel to the Vatican? Because I
I'm not
know
sure.
reports said
I'm
earlier
not
that
sure, but I heard an ambassador related to the Vatican, and he actually explained it very well. And I will find the video and I will send it to you.
Okay.
But that was the only positive thing that I saw today.
Okay. Yeah. So who's Bree Solstad? Do you know who that is? Is that the girl? This is the one, Bree, you've told me about. I got it. Yeah. She has this big, interesting following. Okay. She's the one that used to be a porn star? Is that the right one? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Bree's like, yeah.
One of the top OnlyFans accounts before her
Really?
conversion.
I find this fascinating.
Yeah. And
Wow.
look again, like we have histories of great saints made from great
No, I
sinners.
understand.
So that's not
No, I
the
understand.
issue. The issue is continuing on a platform built by pornography and going to crisis pornography. And she just converted a few years ago too. So still new to the faith. And almost immediately out of
And
her
just
conversion, she
another
was
form of
on social
addiction.
media. Yep, I've said it before. It is a new form of
Well,
pornography.
even if
And
she's
for
not
those who have been
even if
involved
she's
in
not
that,
engaging in the addiction, Bree, she's feeding other
right.
people's addictions.
But that's the
Yes.
point, isn't it? It's the point. And then if you're engaging in the crisis pornography grift, then you are actually making money off of the same, nodes that feed that other addiction. So this is just not I've said it before, I'll say it again. In this space, for those people who have been involved in that lifestyle and who have desired a change, a true change, converted, it is best time to step away from social media because of the pornographic or addiction type behavior that can result in this. It's best just to step away, very similar to people who are alcoholics, can't legitimately go work at a bar.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not a luddite. I do think that everybody should have a virtue that is in the means between the extremes. But in cases of such an extreme behavior, like selling oneself and sexuality online for the addiction and pleasure of others, that needs to be fully withdrawn if there is to be a true conversion. If not, you're just continuing to feed that nonsense. Even if you think, well, my intentions are good or I'm there, because we've seen the results of some of these accounts and where they go. And it always does tend to go towards the crisis pornography.
Because that's where you get your reward, right? I mean, that's where the payment comes from because you excite the drama, you hype up the responses. That's where the money comes from. That's where the reward comes from.
Dan, Dan, are you there? I want to play you something. Can you confirm this for me?
Um,
What?
yeah,
Dan?
yeah.
Okay. Tell me this.
Does not blame Jews for killing Jesus, and the reason for that is that Islam believes that Jesus was never killed. It says it explicitly in the fourth chapter, Surah 4, verse 157. In 636, the Islamic world went to battle with the Byzantine Empire and defeated it, and then came here to the land of Israel and controlled it. Therefore, in the Islamic view, the Jews have been replaced. In Islamic view, this land belongs to Islam. The Jews cannot have any control, any shlit over this land, especially that they believe that their third holiest site is here in Jerusalem, the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Is that true that Muslims don't believe that Jesus died? So they don't
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. In Islam, Jesus didn't die. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
In Islam, what happened is that the Jews, after they rejected Jesus and they plotted to kill him, Jesus knew about their plot, and he went to his disciples And he said to them, who would um, get killed in my place, and I will give him castles in heaven. It's the same currency that Muhammad uses in Islam. Muhammad used to promise his companions virgins and castles and all the pleasures of paradise in order to make them do things to him. Um, so the same thing, the Islamic Jesus, Isa, he said to his friends, who's going to be crucified in my place. And God has made that person who was willing to die in Jesus' place looks like Jesus. And people were looking at the crucified person and they would see him as Jesus, even though he was not Jesus. And in the Quran, it says that they didn't kill him, they didn't crucify him, but we made it look like as if they did. But we have ascended him to us. That is Allah speaking about the ascension of Jesus to heaven before he dies.
Interesting. Okay. So an interview came out. Do you know who Daniel Aguilar is? Do you know who that is? Stories to inspire? No.
I'm not sure. I'm
Okay.
sure with the name.
His name it sounds familiar.
Okay. So he's talking about the divide in we're here. I'll
Right
play a
now in
minute of it.
America, with people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens on one side, and Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee on the other, all arguing about Israel, religion, and what's actually true. At the same time, Israel is under direct attack from Iran. This isn't theoretical, it's happening right now. So the question is, what does Judaism actually say about all of this, about Christianity, and about Islam? And there are very few people in the world who have spent more time studying, debating, and challenging these exact ideas than Rabbi Tovia Singer. Rabbi Singer, it's great to have you. So Thank you for having me.
I pulled this up only because it was talking about Israel at war. The Islamic world is in turmoil, and then you have this internal GOP stuff. So I was just
When
curious.
you look at this divide, like I mentioned, with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens on one side, and figures like Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee on the other side, is this just a political disagreement, or are we watching long-standing theological tensions within Christianity towards the Jewish people resurfacing in real time? Right. So Ted Cruz is an example, or Mike Huckabee. Both of them are Southern Baptist Christians. Huckabee is an ordained Southern Baptist minister. He was the pastor before he was the 14th governor of the state of Arkansas. Their version of Christianity is rather young and rather recent, and it emerged in the United States when a British theologian, John Nelson Darby, came to America in the 19th century and spread a view that was radical, although it shouldn't be if you open up Tanakh. So let's go with the church and their view. The church's view is the one that's the Candace Owens view, it's the Tucker Carlson view, it's the Nick Fuentes view, and that's a replacement theology. The church has always understood the Jewish people as once being chosen. That's very important. The church has always viewed the Jewish people, even in the Christian Bible, Paul says this in Romans chapter 3, that the covenant was given to the Jews and the oracles of God were given through the Jewish people. Nevertheless, the church fathers all stated that the Jewish people were no longer chosen and were replaced by the church. And this is very critical, the Jews would never return to Israel to have sovereignty again. Moreover, again, this is the patristic period. So in this period, during the time of the church fathers, the Temple Mount looked nothing like it looks today. Muslim armies only arrived here to Israel in 637 after defeating the Byzantine Empire. So the Temple Mount was, in Hebrew, a churban. It was rubble. And the church fathers saw that as a monument to what was left of the Jew, that the Jew was finished because he not only rejected Jesus, plotted against him, lied about him, and killed him were responsible for committing the act of deicide. This is not an idea that reflects the ranting of a crazy person like Nick Fuentes. This is explicitly in the Christian Bible. The Jews are held accountable for killing Jesus and are uniquely held accountable for killing Jesus. All the church fathers viewed the destruction of the temple, destruction of the commonwealth, destruction of Jerusalem as a symbol of the Jew who was finished with God and the covenant was done and the church is the new Israel. This is called covenant theology, replacement theology, supersessionism. They all mean the exact same thing. And Augustine coalesces this idea, as does John Chrysostom. Both of them are highly revered church fathers. Even Protestants revere Augustine. Augustine, in his apologetic work against Manichaeism, the religion he once belonged to, and in his magnum opus, City of God, he stated explicitly that the Jews, so just to set up, the City of God is an apologetic work. The main thrust of the work is to address the problem as why was Rome destroyed in 410? Why was it sacked when Rome just converted to Christianity? Like, what'd you do? Okay, so he's addressing that, hence the title of the book. But he also addresses the status of the Jews. If the Jews are no longer chosen, if the promise made to the Jewish people is that they are the people of God and they have been rejected and the church is New Israel, then why are there Jews still here? He didn't come up with all this garbage that the Jews are not real Jews. He knew exactly who they were. That stuff is all modern stuff, which we could talk about. His conclusion was and remains to be the position of the church, and that is that God has preserved the Jewish people as a monument, just like the Temple Mount, a ruined people, a people that cannot and will not return to the land of Israel and never have sovereignty again over Jerusalem. And in his words, and Chrysostom, they all said this. There wasn't an Oscar Schindler among them. There wasn't like one nice guy. They all said this with one voice. Listen carefully, that the destruction of Jerusalem and the destruction of the Jewish people and their degraded state in exile demonstrated that Christianity was a true religion and Judaism was now a false religion. This is very important. And therefore, the return of the Jewish people to their land therefore was a monumental problem for the church. Of course, Pope Pius X, when approached by Herzl on an infamous day, January 25th, 1904, Herzl, I think on a fool's errand, sought out Pius X's support for a Jewish state. Pius X told him very clearly, you made a very big mistake in rejecting Christ. We're not going to support your venture for a Jewish state. Moreover, we can't stop Jews from coming to Palestine, but if you do, our priests will surely be waiting there to baptize the Jews. So that's the standard of the church. So there's nothing new about that. And that's why all this weird stuff is going on, because they have to explain, well, why are the Jews there? The Jews are not really Jews. How do we know they're Jews? But certainly to support a Jewish state, the Jewish state essentially is a Nakba, is a complete catastrophe for this theology. Instead of reevaluating, and there are many Christians, even Catholics, that are Zionists, who don't buy into this stuff at all because they haven't reevaluated. But something happens in America, and that's the clash that you're watching now. John Nelson Darby, born in the very, very beginning of the 19th century in England, comes to America. America was a country that was fertile ground for philo-Semitic views. Now, his view is called premillennial dispensationalism. You've heard this term knocked around a lot. We're not going to pay attention to what those words mean unless you ask me. But what is germane to our viewers is that the supersessionism was the mother lode of bad ideas, and God has a unique covenant with the Jewish people. That's what Speaker Johnson believes. All these Christian Zionists believe this, that the covenant that God forged with Israel is eternal, and it says so explicitly in the Bible. Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, he quotes Genesis chapter 12. He should also be quoting Numbers chapter 24, where it's speaking exclusively about the children of Israel. It's in the oracles of Bilam. It's all over Tanakh that the Jews cannot disappear. Moreover, the Hebrew Bible says explicitly that it is the survival of the Jew despite vicissitudes. It's his persistent survival that demonstrates the truthfulness of the God of Israel and the return and restoration of the Jew to his land, which has happened, that demonstrates that the God of Israel is true. That's explicit in the Hebrew Bible. And the Hebrew Bible, as you well know, is not a whitewashing of the Jewish people. All our mistakes and the mistakes of our greatest leaders are there on these pages for all the world to see. So that's what we see right now as a split. Now, Charlie Kirk, who headed the most influential organization in the Republican Party, was tragically murdered. Do not believe for a moment that he can be replaced. There will not be another Charlie Kirk. He was a remarkable man. And right now, there's a battle. There's a battle for November 2028. There's a battle for the heart and soul of the Republican Party. And therefore, as we would expect, it is conservatives, meaning people who are supporters of Trump, who are now fighting for the destiny. Who is going to be the next candidate, and who should Republicans? We talk about evangelicals in America. We're talking about 70 million, about 1 out of every 5 Americans. What direction is it going in? Is it going in the direction of Tucker Carlson? Is it going in the direction of Nick Fuentes? Meaning, it's not that he's an isolationist. It's just he's an isolation when it comes to Israel. He's a virulent anti-Semite. People should stop saying that he's taking money from Qatar. He might be. I don't know. But what that does is it misdirects people to think that he has an ulterior motive. His guiding principle is to destroy the Jewish people and to destroy Israel. He's an isolationist in the way that Pat Buchanan was. I want to just make a point that I haven't heard anyone make, and it's just so important. For a moment, just think about this. If there weren't a nuclear exchange between Iran and Israel, okay? Let's say you don't care about either country. It would create an existential threat to the survival of the United States, because a nuclear winter would emerge from it. Just like India and Pakistan, 2 countries, its borders are relatively, in the modern period, 1947, both of them became nuclear powers in the 1990s. If they were to go to war, let's say just for a moment you don't care about them personally. If they were to have a nuclear exchange, the world would be transformed forever. What Donald Trump has done, whatever you think about him, he literally saved the world by destroying Iran's nuclear material and their ability to deliver it. But it is very much so. Therefore, it doesn't make sense that America first. If you're America first, you do not want a nuclear exchange. So this doesn't make sense politically. This is completely theological, and that's the divide. Divided is over what is called dispensationalism or Christian Zionism, or people who oppose replacement theology, and those who are the old-time Christians. I'm begging you.
So
About the timing of
Yeah.
it.
Go
I
ahead.
already,
Your
I
comments
already
on that.
listened, yeah, I listened to Rabbi Singer. I believe this was like 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken.
I think this was done. Yeah, probably. Let me see. This was 3 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the entire interview with him.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Interesting.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big fan. He's a brilliant guy. But yeah, that's right. John Darby. He's the person who's responsible for dispensationalism, and dispensationalism is the theological belief that God's covenant with Israel would never end, and our security in Christ depends on God's faithfulness toward His people. There are different school of thoughts within the evangelical churches. Some of them believe that Christ wouldn't return until the Jews rebuilt the temple and they made the sacrifice, and God would reject the sacrifice so they would accept the Christ. other people believe that. Listen, I have said this many times. I never use theology in defending Israel. And here is why. And Rabbi Singer, he explained it pretty well. When you appeal to theology to defend Israel, you will always have this dilemma of supersessionism, not only within the Catholic Church, but also the Evangelical Church. Many churches in America, they believe in replacement theology. And replacement theology is similar to what Islam believes about Christianity, for example. Islam inherited what Christians had, what Jews had. This is replacement theology. The same thing, people who believe in supersessionism or replacement theology, they believe that the covenant between the Jews and God ended.
I'm sorry. Can I just? I'm not meaning to interrupt,
No,
Dan.
go
I
ahead.
just want to make it like clear the record. The Catholic Church rejects supersessionism as a heresy, as does it reject dispensationalism as a heresy. Okay, the Catholic Church is not a supersessionist church. The Orthodox is. So I think it's really important to understand that. But I concur with you. I'll let you continue. I also do not tend to go towards the theology because it doesn't seem to
No, no, of
help
course,
things, and it's not needed.
but some streams within the Catholic Church, they believe in replacement theology, or some form of replacement theology. But anyway, my point, as we agree on this, is that we will always have different interpretations of how we view eschatology. And by the way, in the 17th century, there was an English theologian. His name was Thomas Brightman, and he said that there was a question: shall the Jews return to Jerusalem again? There is nothing more certain. The prophet do everywhere confirmed it. So in England, centuries before John Darby, there was a movement anticipating the return of the Jews to the Holy Land. So it didn't start with Darby. Just to be fair, even the church fathers, they differed on their interpretation of different scripture references. Rabbi Singer mentioned Augustine. We have some church fathers. They were anti-Semite. They were against Jews, but we need to understand why that was happening, because both Rabbinical Judaism and Christianity were trying to draw the borders, because it was one movement. Jews who believed in Jesus, they were Jews, and then the Gentiles entered the church, and the Gentiles became the majority of Christians. And at that point, the Gentiles severed Christianity from its Jewish roots, and that was a theological problem, by the way. But anyway, that's different discussion. What I want to say is this: we appeal to history, to facts, to the reality. We don't appeal to theology or eschatology. I never use it, even though I'm a theologian. My studies were in theology. For 15 years I have been studying theology, but I never used dispensationalism. Actually, I used to be a dispensationalist at one point. I'm not anymore. And people sometimes, they're shocked when they know. They're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're not a dispensationalist. I tell them I don't need it. I don't need eschatology, because, to be honest, some people who support Israel because they are dispensationalist, they just want the Jews to go back to the Holy Land so that they would believe in Jesus, not because they care about Jews. And that is hypocrisy. Okay, I wouldn't do that. I'm not a Zionist because I want Jews to believe in Jesus. Spiritually, that is a different thing. That is between me and God. But when it comes to my support to Israel, it has absolutely nothing to do with theology. Okay, that's very important to make. I believe that Jews have the right to the land. I believe that Islam rejected any Jewish sovereignty over the land, because in Islam, and this is very important for people to understand, in Islam, it's not only people who have religions, but land also has a religion. And the same way, if you convert to Islam, you cannot convert out of Islam. It's like a mafia. The same thing that goes to the land, applies to the land. A land that was Islamized, converted to Islam, cannot become infidel again. So now Israel, the land of Israel, it was Islamized, it was under Islam, and Jews took it back and they, made it infidel. So that is affront to Islam. That goes just catastrophe. That is a theological catastrophe in Islam. So that's why I support Israel, because I believe they have the right. Now, what Rabbi Singer said about Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz and Speaker Johnson and the two groups, I don't believe that all Christians who support Israel because of dispensationalism. And here you have two examples. You have Bree and you have me. We are not dispensationalists, but we support Israel. Why? Not because we want Jews to return and build their temple and believe in Jesus. Regardless of our theological beliefs, we support Israel. Millions of Americans support Israel for the same reason. So this is very important to understand, because I have heard not only Rabbi Singer, but many rabbis. And there's a very aggressive rabbi, I forgot his name. His name is Yusuf something. He's very, oh my goodness, he's really, and he was saying that don't be very, what did he say exactly? He said, don't be impressed with Christians supporting Israel. They just want us to go back there so that we believe in their Jesus.
Yeah, I think nobody takes him seriously. He's like wacko. Yeah.
That's not true. I believe that many of us, even if I said that, I don't appeal to theology, but let me just say something else here. God's faithfulness extends, or it's the same way God was faithful with Israel, God is faithful with the church. That's how we see it. If God was not faithful to his promises to Israel, then how can I trust God and his promises? And the scripture, I cannot over spiritualize it. I cannot take every blessing that was promised to Israel and apply it to the church and ignore the curses. Because it's very clear that in the Old Testament, we have blessings to Israel and curses to Israel, right? So, and many Christians, they take the blessings and they say, these blessings, we are heirs to these blessings because of Jesus. What about the curses? Oh, the Jews took the curses. Only the curses. It's like, this is ridiculous. This is not our God. Our God, his promises are eternal and with no regret. And we believe that Israel represents every individual's and every society and the world's journey. Each one of us is living in the land of slavery, and God is offering us freedom, taking us out of the land of slavery to the wilderness, to the struggle, to the journey of discipleship and pain and suffering in order to acquire the land. And that journey that Israel went through, the people of Israel went from, God took them out of the land of slavery. Before they worshiped him even, he liberated them first, then they were able to worship God. And through struggles and through pain and through defeats, they were able to occupy the land and to acquire the land. So that is the journey of each one of us in our relationships, in our daily lives. So I believe that Israel was a shadow to all of us, and that shadow is not collateral. It was not only a tool that God used and then threw away. That is ridiculous. God
He's not the God of the Jews only. He's not a local God. He's the God of the universe. He created the entire world. However, his promises and his covenant with the Jews is eternal. And as long as the skies exist, the stars exist, the creation exists, my promises to Israel will exist, will never disappear. That is the promise of God. And he was not talking about the church. He was talking about the people of Israel. He was talking about his people. So we cannot just take his words and in a magical way just turn them to mean the church. And we forget completely about those who kept scripture. Without the Jews, we don't have scripture. Without the Jews, we don't have Jesus. Without the Jews, we don't understand salvation. We don't understand redemption. It just doesn't work. And if you look at Jesus, I wrote 3 articles about that. Jesus was a Jew. He lived as a Jew. He kept the Shabbat, and he followed the scripture. And his attacks was directed not against the Jews. It was directed against the religious class who were burdening the people of Israel with things that God did not command or did not ask for. So we cannot just we cannot just dismiss all Jews who did not believe in Jesus as. And the last thing I want to say before I land this, I shared something to the Nest. It's an article written by Ibn al-Warraq, Salam al-Masri. He's a fellow at IDI with us. In this article, I'm not sure if you have seen it, guys. It's called The Jews, Your Majesty, the Jews. Please go and read it. This is a masterpiece. This is something that you probably can read every decade once. It's just, oh my goodness, it's going to blow your mind. Thank you so much.
Can I jump in real quick and
Yeah.
just say, Dan, what you stated with regards to God's promises being eternal and the mystery behind that and what we see in Romans 11 is exactly the statement of the church. And it's this middle path of understanding the significance of in our belief of Jesus and his messiahship. But remember, again, not all Jews were located in Jerusalem. Not all Jews heard of Jesus during his lifetime. And therefore, to condemn all Jews under this notion that, oh, you missed out, you're done with your covenant is bizarre. It is exactly what Paul addresses in the statement. Because remember, there was a Jewish community in Rome who had no clue about the many individuals. They probably heard about many individuals who presented themselves as Messiah during the time of Jesus, because there were many, right? But in this, what you said here was so critical, I think, for people to understand that, like, it's neither black or white when unfortunately, both dispensationalism and supersessionism are those black and white issues. And here in this middle road of saying, like, look, recognizing what Jesus is as Messiah to us does not nullify the law. And Jesus himself said this. He said, I came not to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. And not one iota of the law would be, would be taken, not 1/10 of the law would be undermined until, all had been accomplished. And we know, if you're a Christian, you believe in the book of Revelation and his second coming. And so it's not yet fully accomplished. And so I just, it's very hard for me to understand where the supersessionists get off. But I do concur with you. You have to look at the full scope of what the fathers of the church debated, because some of them were with Augustine. But if everybody was with Augustine, then we wouldn't have the scriptures that we had today. Augustine was part of the Council of Hippo, and he wrote, you can find this, that Augustine said that if it was only up to him, the only parts of the New Testament that would be in existence today would be the book of John, the Gospel of John, and the Pauline epistles. That's it. So I think for people to realize, like, this is why within the Catholic Church we have councils. This is why we have a hierarchy. Is it's not just one voice making the decision; it's the voice with the entirety of the church, and that's why, like, say today, the statement from Pope Leo, Catholics can say respectfully, that's incorrect. What you said today, Pope Leo, is historically, with the 2,000 years of history and tradition in the church, and scripturally supported from the Old Testament as well, it is not correct. It is the opposite. And this whole idea of appeasement is not Christian. And frankly, appeasement and dialogue versus understanding, again, it's just the when I saw the video of Pope Leo the other day standing in front of these and engaging with these African bishops and talking about dialogue with Islamists, it's beyond bizarre. The individual Muslim is not the issue. Individual Muslims can be incredibly peaceful and live very upright lives. But the ideology has never been changed. And the ideology, those who are the extremists, are the ones who have the entirety of Islam as they claim themselves to be representation of the purest form of Islam. And you don't see the cleaning out of the schools and the imams and I mean, we have them here in the States, you know incredibly violent and incredibly in line with Islamist belief systems. And if they're not being held accountable, then the silence equals consent. I don't know what else to say than that.
Let
So
me. The Turkish have come out and made a comment and said he's a senior fellow at on Islam and modernity at Cato. The Islamic Jesus, the books that he's wrote, the Islamic Moses, the Islamism and Christian. I don't know whatever this guy's books are. Mustafa Akyol, maybe you know him, Dan. You should see how they're trying to comment as if Turkey took over. Jerusalem, that there would this would not be happening right now.
I mean, isn't this interesting? Because we talked about this how many years ago when the individual trying to reimagine the Ottoman Empire under his domain,
Yeah,
the
but there
current
was no ballistic missiles
president.
from Iran, Lebanon, and Yemen during Ottoman times.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that he came out and said after October the 7th that he went to Pope Francis and asked for a third state. In fact, this is being repeated by Jack Posobiec today on Bannon's show. Is that there needs to be a 3-state solution. You see where this is going. And I tend to push back again and say, look what happened well before October the 7th when Turkey changed the Hagia Sophia, what was the Cathedral of Constantinople, turned it back into a mosque. And the first day that they did that, they had the minister of religion climb the stairs of the what was one at one point the pulpit with a naked sword and called for the freedom of Al-Aqsa. If people don't understand the significance, maybe Dan, you can explain what the significance is to a Muslim seeing something like that. What does that mean?
If you have ever visited Istanbul and Hagia Sophia, and actually I did 1 week before they turned it into a mosque, and they were preparing it to become a mosque, so they were getting curtains and hiding Mary the Virgin and Jesus icons and all the icons on the roof of the church. They were hiding them with curtain, and until today, if you go to the Hagia Sophia, it's a mosque view, of course, you will see that curtains just covering, you won't be able to see what behind the curtains, but they're the icons of Jesus, Mary the Virgin, the saints, etc. So when you look at what Muslims did to churches in lands they took over, and then you contrast that with how Israel, and forget the church here, forget churches, how Israel maintained and protected the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Rock of the Dome, it just mind-blowing. Israel had, I believe, 1,000 chance to destroy the mosque. And this mosque is built on the Temple Mount, the only spot that means anything to in Judaism. They don't have like many temples, only one temple, and yet they didn't for 80 years. And those who say,
Dan,
yeah,
have you seen that video though? I would be really interested to get, because as a former Muslim, to get your understanding of the significance of climbing.
yeah, please send it to
Of
me. I,
Yeah,
I,
because
I'm not
it.
sure what Stealth was talking about, but she talked about Jesus, the Islamic Jesus, Islamic Moses.
Yeah, I just tweeted the guy. I sent you it all on
Okay,
DM. I
okay.
sent you his post
Today,
on DM, so you have it all in
yeah,
your
today
DM.
there's a university in the United States. I'm not going to say the name of the university. They published a book about the prophets of Islam, and among those prophets are Moses, Jesus, and all the Jewish prophets that they were hijacked and Islamized. So this is like a university in the U.S. sponsored this book. I'm not going to say the name of that university now because we're writing a report about it. But yeah, let me see the video. Bree just sent it to me.
I just sent it to you. I really want, because I think the significance of this act and the call that he made um, went over the heads of most of the West, because they don't. Most people just don't know the history behind this. To me, and this happened again before October the 7th. But to me, this was an indication of the dominance of the West by the Ottoman Empire, by taking Hagia Sophia and suppressing it into a mosque. And that is with the naked sword being carried, a significant sign of the dominance of the West. And then the call to defend Al-Aqsa is a call to war, but it's coming from an Islamist. So to me, this says a call like of a universal jihad. Now, I can't speak to
Yeah, I remember this
the
video.
his authority. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
remember this video. So Turkey under Erdogan is similar to Egypt under Al-Sisi or under Mohammed Hosni Mubarak. What I mean by that is that the religious institution is completely controlled by the state. So anything that takes place on a platform as big as Hagia Sophia is controlled by the state, dictated by the state, actually. So that was not an individual action, it was actually scripted. He was asked to do that. And new Ottomans, they want to reestablish the Ottoman Caliphate. They believe, Erdogan, he believes that all the Middle East belongs to Turkey. Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, even parts of the Gulf. So that dream exists and everyone knows it. But the problem within Sunni Islam is that Islam trumps any nationality. So it doesn't matter if the caliphate is going to be reestablished by the Turks, by the Ottomans, or by Arabs. That's why Sunni Muslims, even after all the suffering they experienced, their ancestors experienced on the hands of the Turks, on the hands of the Ottomans, they still defend the Ottoman occupation.
and I once wrote an article about this, that double standards of Muslims when it comes to occupation. The Ottoman occupation, it was brutal, but it was lovely. It was, it was Islamic, no problem. Even though some groups within the Arab countries, they fought the Ottomans. But the sentiment among the majority of Sunni Muslims, they defend the Ottomans, and they actually don't mind if Turkey takes over again. However, when it comes to the Jews, no, they're bad occupation. Even though it's their land, they're not expanding outside their land. But anyway, so yeah,
Hey
this.
Dan, there's a breaking news real quick. Sorry to break in, but Ayel, again, breaking news today. The UAE has seized over $530 billion of Iranian assets. That's massive.
Wow.
And this is coming
Did you
from
say million or
UAE.
billion?
Billion.
Whoa.
$530 billion. And look, guys, the UAE is about to go ballistic. Talk about ballistic missiles. They are about to show what it means to cross
Yeah,
the
because there
UAE
was
with
there
the
was an
Iranians.
attack in Dubai today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Despite their, oh, we're so sorry to our neighbors. Are they really?
I stand with the United Arab Emirates, and I was aware that they were going to do this. Actually, I was expecting it to happen anytime because the Iranian investment in the United Arab Emirates is so huge. So yeah, but this is going to definitely going to transform this war now. I believe that the United Arab Emirates is gaining more confidence in joining this war. Instead of being on the defensive, it's going to go on the offensive and join the United States and Israel.
We're not saying that's a newbie, okay? We're talking about the industrial military complex and all the factors and features that really don't give a shit about this country. They care about globalist profit. Okay, add the private corporations to that, which you could say is fascism, but at the end of the day, the level of corruption on both sides is telling people, why the fuck should I vote? I get right corruption, I get left corruption. I'm pointing out why Diligent's saying what he's saying, because he's saying we cannot go into a violent revolution to fix this. This isn't 1776, although many times I wish it was. Yes, we must keep our First and our Second Amendments. That's what separates us from Brazil and Cuba and all these other countries that have fallen. On the other hand, we may have to get to a point where we tell the government, we don't fucking believe anything you're doing, either side. We have to put the scare into them. If enough Americans get together, then what happens if they don't vote? And I agree with you. It makes my hair stand on end. You know me, I'm a Reagan Republican. I mean, it makes my hair stand on end. But on the other hand, the real deal would be, how do you affect the money? The money that they get is from us. We, the people, pay for all this bullshit. So now, how do we get the money? We can't just throw tea over the boat anymore. Taxes are taken out from people's jobs. They can't
2%, but
actually.
hold on.
You
A
can't even afford to
2% T
mobilize. You can't
tax.
afford to
Time out. A
mobilize.
2% T tax started the greatest revolution on earth. All of a sudden, we're
Yes.
here
Yeah,
getting taxed 42%.
back before there was a
Hold on.
major
We
propaganda
take it.
machine
Right.
and drones
We
and
take no.
AI.
There was plenty of propaganda back then. It was just a little different, but there was plenty.
It was
The
it
point
was
that
spread through
It was a
paper
lot
rather
different.
than
yeah,
internet.
and it
But
was a
but
lot
here's
harder to dispel because you didn't know how far it reached and how far it touched. So
but
to
George,
an
you're right. It's the same principle: taxation without representation. That is
pretty
exactly what's
much that's
happening
what I
now
was trying
and
to get
has
at.
been. Yes,
No, let me
absolutely.
make one quick point here for you guys. Just follow with me. I need 1 minute, Diligent. The point I'm trying to make is you feel disenfranchised. I have felt disenfranchised. I understand where you're coming from. The problem is non-participation and starting a movement of non-participation will seed even larger margins to the opposition. Now, I understand some people have the doctrine of we just need to make it really bad so people understand how pissed we are. And I get that. In 2 years, 2 short years, if we were to cede control of all of government to the Democrats, with the exception of the White House, because we'd have that roadblock, they will do nothing but impeach, 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 obstruct, 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 gain the White House by that narrative, and then they will pass voting laws that are. If you go back to the 117th Congress and Google what HR1 was, the number one priority for Democrats was a scathing federal election reform bill that would make the hair on the back of your neck stand. It would have been funded by public fucking funds. That's what Pelosi and Democrats wanted. That's a fact. It's not me. It's not me pontificating. It's not me spinning. Go on congress.gov, 117th Congress, and type in HR1. Read it. That is their priorities. They will do that if they have the trifecta without any bars hold. So you advocating from voting, and allowing for a full pass, that means Senate seats can flip, meaning they will have a filibuster-proof margin by 2028, and that's where the issues lie.
But George, do you
Just
know who you're
saying.
talking to? You're talking to Diligent. He thinks
and
they're
the
both the same. So you're not telling him nothing different.
yeah,
He thinks
I
both
don't
parties
see
are the same.
a difference in outcome. I mean, we're at war now. Spending is still rampant. Inflation is still rampant. Life has not improved for the American people. We have less rights than we did when Trump took office. We have our rights have less meaning than they did when
What
Trump took
rights have you
office.
lost? What rights have you lost,
But the
Diligent?
DOJ and FBI have been going after
What
people for
rights
the
specifically have
DOJ.
you
I'm
lost?
trying to tell you, the
No,
DOJ. If you're not
you.
letting
Don't
me
call me
answer
about people. You.
the DOJ and the FBI has been targeting people for their speech online. Yes or no? Yes or
I
no?
haven't been targeted. Have you?
I
No.
am a
My
citizen.
answer to that is no.
I speak for more than just myself.
Have you been targeted?
That remains to be seen.
Have you lost any rights as a person? That's what I'm asking.
Um, Individually, no.
Okay. Give me an example of a right you've lost.
I just said
That's collectively.
individually, no.
Collective. Give me
I
give me an
tried to
example
give
of a
you an
collective
example
right
and you
you've
cut me
lost.
off.
Okay, who is the person? Give me the reference person you're saying that's being weaponized, that's being targeted by the DOJ and the FBI.
10th Amendment.
Don Lemon
No, no,
has
no,
been
not
Don Lemon has been
stop. I'm not talking
attacked.
about 10th Amendment. I'm asking, give me the person, Diligent, that you're
Brock,
referencing to
how
that's
many
been
people have
weaponized
been
again.
arrested for stalking online or their speech online in the last since Trump took office? Count as many as you can, individual cases. You don't have to list them all, but tell me how many. Give me a number and give me some examples.
Checking recent cases on Russian online speech since
No,
Trump took
Grok,
office.
United States speech.
Yeah. Since Trump took office in January 2025, Russia's been cracking
No,
down hard
she's
on
thinking
online
it was
speech.
because she was listening to you guys talk. Just be quiet for a second while I do this. Grok, how many people have been arrested for their online speech since Trump took office? Harassment, cyber stalking, cyber bullying, hate speech, etc. Count as many as you can and give us some examples.
Digging into Russia's online crackdown since Trump started. Give me a sec.
What the fuck is he keep?
I think
What's
your
happening with
toy is
Grok?
broken,
No, it's
Diligent.
not. It's hold on. Grok, not Russia, but the United States. How many people have been arrested and charged for cyberbullying, online crimes involving speech on social media, cyberbullying, cyber stalking, threats, etc.? How many? Give me some examples too.
Got it. Switching to US cases on online speech crimes. Yeah, on the US side, it's trickier to pin down exact numbers, because cyberbullying itself isn't a federal crime. It's mostly handled state by state, or under broader laws like threats, harassment, or stalking. But for federal stuff, cyberstalking, 18 USC 2261A, interstate threats, online extortion, DOJ and FBI prosecute when it crosses state lines or hits federal
Grok, just
jurisdiction, like social
identify the
media threats to
crimes
injure or
and
kill.
aggregate, identify the crimes that fit, the statutes that fit what I described, focus on the federal, because I know there's a bunch, and then identify some of them and give us some examples.
Okay. Digging into US federal cases for online speech crimes, cyberstalking, threats, harassment. Yeah, federal side, the main statutes fitting what you described, cyberbullying, online harassment, threats, cyberstalking on social media are 18 USC 2261A, cyberstalking, covers using electronic comms, like social media, emails, texts, to harass, intimidate, or cause emotional distress. Max 5 years per count, often bundled with threats. This one's the go-to for repeated online abuse. 18 USC 875C, interstate threatening communications, criminalizes transmitting threats to injure, kidnap, via interstate means, phones, internet, social posts, up to 5 years, big for true threats on platforms. Related, sometimes 18 USC 2261A gets paired with 875 for doxing plus threats, or 1038 for hoax threats. No standalone cyberbullying federal crime. It's folded into these. Aggregate, hard exact count. DOJ doesn't publish cyberstalking only yearly tallies like scams. From 2025 into 2026, since Trump restart, we're seeing dozens of cases, not hundreds, mostly minors, extremists, or public officials targeted. FBI DOJ focus on violent extremist networks like 764, self-harm encouragement online, plus threats to judges, probation officers. Examples: November 2025, Marek Cherkashawi, NJ, 21, charged under 226.
That's right here. I don't know why she's not reading it. Prosecutions, DOJ data shows about 412 federal cyber stalking cases filed in 2025
Violating 18 USC, right?
and
Okay.
cyber stalking. So this is for harassing people for their speech online
Yeah.
and causing
No,
emotional
no, no,
distress.
no,
It's
no,
not
no,
just for
no, no,
Anti-
threats.
no, no.
And
Stop. They're breaking the
you have,
law.
hold on, I'm almost done. You have numerous examples of both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi telling people that they will go after you for hate speech.
Look, Flora,
Have
I put it in
they
the,
gone
the
after one person? One person. I've asked for one name. You haven't given me one name, Diligent. I want a name
they're
of a
about to pass an
prosecutor.
anti-Semitism task force
Okay, I'll
in
give you,
Miami-Dade
okay.
County.
Grok, give us a name of a case. The sound went out. I don't know if Grok lost or what. Anyways,
I know Jonathan, that dude
Diligent,
Jonathan.
there's, there's,
you should
I
know
mean,
this
I
off the top
wasn't,
of your head.
okay, here we
Yeah,
go.
Jonathan.
You
Jonathan's in jail right now for it.
Wait, so are we just gonna sit here and be blackpilled by like George? Do you not see anything? Like, I mean, I know you still have friendships with people in Congress, like with Trump and the Fed, the FEC chair, going after Jimmy Kimmel, or just going like, do you not see anything that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, like as the two
no,
law enforcement
no, nothing,
officers, nothing.
nothing different than Merrick Garland did. No, I'm sorry. No, nothing worse than what Merrick
which is
Garland did.
targeting. Well, I mean, which was targeting though. But you recognize that though, right?
Arresting people for going into a church to protest. I mean, you can't make this
Arresting
stuff
people
up.
for being on the lawn of the Capitol as spectators, people like Brendan Strack, who never even went in the building. Oh, you see how that works? You see how people forget so easily? Merrick Garland put people like Brandon Strzok in prison. Brandon was standing on the fucking Capitol lawn of the
That is
United
not
States
true.
Capitol.
You have
Yeah,
just
that is
I have
true.
interviewed
I saw
him.
the
I
video. I saw
no,
the
you
video. He never went
not true.
inside.
He told the Capitol Police this, and he has pled guilty to um
He pled guilty under duress. Under
okay,
duress of
hold. All right.
being
So
threatened to be fucking sent to prison forever.
there was also a video in that individual who threatened to take off the police officer's shield. I will take your fucking
All
shield
right,
off.
all right, all
So
right,
if
all
you
right.
want to defend these people, then
Let
you
me
can.
just let me just say this. There's numerous examples of people
The
being
point, Jared.
just
The
because I
point I'm
can't, just because I'm not like gonna pull up their names right now. Anybody can. I would just ask my audience, look this up yourself. Look up cases, federal cases for people being arrested for what they say or do on social media. It's a speech it's a speech issue, right? So, and it
Yeah,
is
what are they saying,
increasingly
Diligent? That they're going to
becoming
kill
more
you?
It is increasingly becoming more police. No, you heard her read the statute to you.
Diligent, Diligent,
It
just so
is
you
her,
know.
it is,
Diligent,
hold on. It is continued quote unquote harassment causing emotional distress, right? Or coupled with maybe one other thing,
Diligent, there
like,
is still a man. I want you to know there's still a man in prison in Florida who threatened to kill me and my spouse. Just FYI,
yeah,
okay?
threats
He
aren't protected
threatened
speech.
verbally,
I'm not talking about protected speech, or I'm
but
not
that's
talking.
what he did online. And that's what a lot of
Threats
people
are
get
not
prosecuted
protected.
for
Some
is for
people, yeah,
threats of
yeah.
violence.
I'm not, and they deserve to be because threatening is not covered under the First Amendment. You can't threaten people, right? So there are certain things that aren't covered. I'm talking about things that are covered, which are now being policed under the Trump administration. They started to be policed under the Biden administration, and now they're continuing to be policed under the Trump administration. That's why I'm saying when I say you say disillusioned, I don't see a difference. Jared is 100% right. I think they are the same party. I think that doesn't matter which one you vote for. The outcome's going to be the same. And what I'm advocating for is for people to take a breath, pause, and watch that what I'm saying is accurate. And they don't need to do so based on what I say. They can look at the results themselves by how their votes turned out. A bunch of Democrats I know are completely disillusioned because of Biden. They didn't like Biden. They didn't want Biden. Biden sucked. They got stuck with Biden, right? And they became disillusioned on that part. Right now, that's happening with Trump in droves. People are begging for something different.
You know what's the crazy part? The crazy part is Biden won his primary fair and square in 2020. Fair and fucking square. He debated. Democrats chose him. I don't know why they're
They're
disillusioned and mad. They
disillusioned.
got stuck with him. And remember, Tulsi Gabbard was in that primary. She was
I
one of
mean,
the
I
contenders for
don't
that
know.
primary.
I don't tell you, but I'm gonna go for about a minute. If you want to support what I'm doing, the best way is by subscribing. There's a pink button on my profile. I'm gonna do a subscriber only after space right after this one. The link is up in the jumbotron. Turn all notifications on for my X account, and if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, turn the notification on, and share the channel with your friends so they can hear raw conversation about what's really going on. Go ahead, Dr. Strange.
Thanks, Zildjian. I want to go back to the question that George posed as to what rights have been taken away. I'll give you one simple example. The Trump administration forced many universities who receive public funding to adopt the IHRA rules when it comes to anti Semitism. Now, within the IHRA, it goes so much overboard that if you criticize the government of Israel, it's considered anti Semitic. That goes against the US Constitution, that goes against our free speech. And they've taken that right away, especially at the youth level. In addition, 35 states in the US has anti BDS rules, laws. So if you decide to boycott the state of Israel, basically you cannot work for the government, they'll fire you. You cannot get government contracts simply because you disagree with a foreign country. So these are some of the rights, and it happens whether it's the left or the right. It doesn't matter. They'll still push the same thing when it comes to these kind of stuff. So this is one example that George wanted to know, and these are rights that affects all of us. 35 states have adopted this. Now, I understand that's local level, but the Trump administration has also supported this. So I just wanted to answer his question. And by the way, George, I'm not sure why you blocked me, but I appreciate the dialogue and the fact that you come in here. I hope I'm not sure why there's bad blood.
I honestly don't know why you're blocked. So this is the first time I think I can remember interacting with you in a long time. So I have no clue why you're blocked. But anyway, I barely block people. You really have to cross a line unless somebody who was one of my surrogates blocked you while I was in prison. I don't know, honestly, and I don't care. But as far as the anti-BDS, I mean, look, it's going to be a tough sell. I mean, I think it's rich that we go here, but is there problems with the way that they adopted some of the anti-Semitic laws in some universities? I'm not going to sit here and pretend there isn't a problem, but at the same time, I think anti-Semitism is rampant in this country, and I support this measure, and it doesn't take anybody's freedom away. It essentially says you're not entitled to a free education or a subsidized education at an Ivy League school. So if you want to play ball with the American government and you want to take subsidized federal tax dollars, you're going to adhere to our policy. Now, you don't have to take this money. It's an option, but if you choose to take this money, here's under the guises in which you will have to behave. And that goes to all these, academia socialists and communists that are anti-Semitic, that are Christian phobic. I mean, I can go on and on. Um, Tough luck. Don't take the money from the government. Keep funding yourselves through your endowments and through your donors. Oh, right. You don't have donors because the majority of academia donors happen to be Jewish. Not exclusively, but happen to be Jewish. So they have to take the money. So now they want to complain about it. It's not free speech. It's essentially saying if you want access to a certain pool of cash, there are you're going to have to comply with certain rules, and those are the rules. That's not taking anybody's right. There is no right in the Constitution that guarantees anybody a higher education in this country. There is no constitutional right to a higher education, let alone a privatized Ivy League academia career. So I'm not saying this to be smart. I'm just saying just to call the facts out. So you can argue the BDS stance. Like I support anti BDS. I support anti. I'm sorry. I support anti BDS legislation. I totally do. I voted for anti BDS legislation because I think the BDS is literally just a cloak for a very much bigger and more nefarious agenda, which is backed by, awful human beings. So, without getting too much into it and making this an Israel space, at the risk of doing that, I think that's a bad example, Dr. Strange. When I talk about rights, I talk about foundational rights. We have lost no rights. We lost no rights under Biden either, by the way, as we lost no rights. Now, have we seen weaponized government? Yes, we have. I will admit to that. I think there are aspects of the government that have been weaponized by certain secretaries in the last 4 years. I do believe that.
So,
And I do believe that there's
George, according to the IHRA, if you criticize the government of Israel, it's considered anti-Semitic. And if you work for the federal government, if you work for certain states, they can fire your ass. And if you have a federal contract, they can cancel that contract. You can criticize your government all you want. You can criticize the president. You can all day long. Nothing will happen to you. But a foreign country that's thousands of miles away, if you happen to criticize that government, you will lose your job. Potentially, you might even be kicked out of an Ivy League school. They may cancel your scholarship.
But Dr. Strange, that
Don't you
goes back
find
to
that
my point.
problematic?
Who,
Don't you find
Dr.
that
Strange, I
problematic,
don't,
George?
because that has to do with the donor base. If the donor base that's facilitating the funds to subsidize the education and the operations of these institutions have that prerequisite and requirement, no, I don't find it problematic. It's
No,
essentially
the
going into
donor
a
base
Catholic.
is not doing that though. It's the federal government that's basically saying that we will not fund the universities unless they adopt the IHRA laws, the guidelines. That's what's happening. I'm not sure if you're aware, but
I am aware.
The Trump administration has mandated that in order for you to receive any federal funding, you need to adopt the IHRA guidelines fully intact, which stipulates that if you criticize the government of Israel, the state of Israel, you that's considered anti-Semitic, and you will not get funding. And if you're a student there on a scholarship or working on a project, they can cancel you and kick you out of college. Don't you find that problematic, George?
Honestly, no, I don't. Not after what I witnessed and what I've seen. I don't. I'm sick and tired of the people. No, I don't find it problematic. Okay. But at the end of the day, my opinion means jack shit. I'm a civilian. Okay. So take that up with people in Congress, in the Senate, in the House, in the White House, and talk to them about it. Honestly, you're asking for a civilian's
Take it up
opinion.
to the people who support the policy. Okay.
Dude, you got to petition your government.
And I think there's various ways to do that. And I think
I am
non-compliance.
waiting for an example though of a freedom somebody lost and you have failed to give that to me.
I'll send you one. I'm hosting a YouTube and a space. I don't know if you saw, and a
Okay.
live
Oh,
stream.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
Wait, you go now on full blown like video YouTube?
Yep. I'm in
Look
studio
at
right
you.
now.
You have come a long way, grasshopper. Look at you.
Yep.
So there's some breaking news. Trump on Tulsi Gabbard. He was just asked on Air Force One, en route to Joint Base Andrews. The reporter asked, "Do you still have confidence in Tulsi Gabbard?" And Trump said, "Yeah, sure. I mean, she's a little bit different in her thought process than me, but that doesn't make somebody not available to serve. I'm very strong in the fact that I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I think she's a little softer on that." That
Why
just came from
did she
Trump
make a
moments
public
ago.
statement against it or something? Why is he saying that? Why does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah. So I have not seen any public statement. So he just said that he thinks she's a little softer than he liked her to be.
Let me go to
So
these ladies real quick before I wrap up the space. Kimberly, go ahead and then hi.
Well, first, let me offer a disclaimer in that I don't have a dog in the fight because I expatriated in 2021. I canceled the voter registration. But I want to challenge everyone to look at your voter registration and see whose name is on that voter registration. It's not the name of the man or the woman. If you look at the all capital letter name on that voter registration and you go to the Chicago Style Manual and look at the rules in English for a proper nouns are not written in all capital letters. So that follows with the maxim that says that which one creates, one controls. So who created the all capital letter name? The municipal United States, the Pope's theocracy created it.
Okay,
And when you
this is
register,
too heavy. This is too heavy right now.
okay,
Too
hold
heavy.
on, hold
No,
on.
well, no.
When
Earlier in
you
the space,
register,
I'm wrapping up the space, and this is like a little too far down the rabbit hole than I have time to mess with. So,
oh, I got one more
you
point if you'll let me
is it
finish.
related to anything we've
Yes,
discussed?
yes. When you register to vote, the definition of register is to give ownership interest over to another. So none of you are voting for anything. It's all an illusion, a perception of a say in your government for an exchange of your credit and your good
We
name.
agree. That's what I've been saying.
That's what I'm trying to give you the backup and the basis on what you're saying. Nobody's voting for anything. It's an illusion. Who's the
Eh,
electoral college? How do you know who they voted for? You don't.
Let's thank you. Let's go to High Priestess.
Yeah, I thank you, Diligent, for the mic. I've been in your space for over an hour. I was just trying to understand politics.
There's an Islamic Resistance Council, orchestrated by the Muslim Brotherhood originally, and it's to make sure that all those groups, no matter where they are fighting in Africa, Middle East, or Asia, are having some kind of organ to talk to each other on a normal level. And what they agreed was that when Syria was taking over, it was done with the help of Al Qaeda from Afghanistan. They sent around 10,000 fighters. That's why you saw so many Uzbeks, Tajiks, and others fighting in Syria to make sure that they could overthrow.
I
Sorry,
keep
Guido.
losing
Uh,
Guido.
Yeah,
what? What do you say?
we lost Guido for a minute right before ISIS leadership.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And what they agreed upon was that when they took over Syria, that it was Al Qaeda who would lead Syria, and when they take over Iraq, it will be ISIS running the Iraqi province. So they made some kind of agreement that they all have their own territory. And when it's, for example, in Mali, it will be Jenin. If it's Somalia, it will be Al Shabaab. If it's Pakistan, it will be TTP. So they have for every country that they are managing to take over, they have a local jihadi group running the show, and in the end, combining them all to one caliphate from east to west.
Hey, Stealth, did you see? I sent something in one of the group chats with Ash and whatever. Did you see the post from George Santos regarding today's big
Yeah,
story?
I did. I sent him an invite to come to the space. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, I think it might be worth. Yeah, it might be worth inviting him to talk to him about it.
Yeah. You can respond. You can make posts and respond and actually do some work on it. Did you
I
respond?
did. I did respond. Yeah,
Okay. You can keep responding
absolutely. Did.
with more evidence and more posts. Did he respond to you?
No, it was just about 10 minutes ago. So not that I saw yet.
Okay. Go ahead, Sunlight.
Yeah, hey, Stealth. It's just sad that, the largest Christian denomination is not cognizant of the fact of the op that's going on to divide, Christianity within Christianity and Christianity from, the Old Testament. And is, I would expect that the brainiacs in the Vatican, would have a little bit more foresight as to what's happening in order to, take this as a moment when they're trying to fracture the church, the rock that the church was built upon. They're trying to fracture this to take the opportunity to heal, to heal that those fractures and fissures. To take a leadership role, as that's what we would expect out of the papacy. But that's one thing, and the second thing is that just the attacks that the Epic Fury is receiving, from the left, that it's a forever war and Trump promised no new wars and this, that, and the other. And, the oil shock narrative, from an economic perspective. I've been digging into that all day today, to try to understand, what, there's two things, Stealth. There's the ability to send millions of barrels of oil over pipelines, to the Red Sea that Saudi Arabia has set up. It's like 7 to 8 million barrels of oil, and then there's also ports, that the UAE has outside of the Straits of Hormuz, and pipelines go in there. Between those two, they're able to siphon off or redirect 10 million barrels of oil, and 20 million barrels of oil is the normal throughput on a daily basis through the Straits of Hormuz, and there's like 300 tankers, stalled on the inside of the Persian Gulf, and a bunch that are stalled on the outside, but they're now being redirected to the ports at the UAE or Saudi Arabia. So, I'm digging into this notion that, we're going to have a sustained oil shock because of damage to, facilities in Qatar and Kuwait and elsewhere, from a liquefied natural gas perspective, as well as helium and other byproducts. A lot of diesel fuel is refined in that area, as well as jet fuel and also plastics that go in, or precursor plastics that go into the actual plastic manufacturing. For car parts and other industries. I mean, imagine plastic molds going into anything and everything. So I'm digging into that because I want to really understand, is this a real concern, or is this a plant from the City of London and Lloyd's of London and the globalists that do not want to see the status quo change in the Middle East, and we see it changing before our very eyes. where they're looking at the constraints of the supply chain and, what that does, the impact that that has on a global basis. I mean, they are basically still paving the road for the IVAC corridor. I mean, it's just amazing, that how the cooperation that is going on between, Qatar, the UAE, Iran, Oman, even, stepping up a little bit, and Saudi Arabia, Jordan. I mean, it's basically made a crisis that has exposed the issue and has exposed the need for the India Middle East corridor. And so, the benefits that are going to come out of this are just enormous. But in any event, I'm trying to dispel the economics. This economics doom and gloom, from the Panicans. And if anybody has any information along those lines, please forward it, DM me, so I can utilize that and put together a thread I'm going to address each one of those buckets: liquefied natural gas, helium, oil byproducts that go into plastics, that go into diesel, that go into jet fuel, and where the capacity sits, outside of that region. It's having come from the IT industry itself, we did a lot of work with financial institutions and stock markets and that type of thing, because we had a unique technology that was a shared nothing architecture. You always have to have multiple, you always dual source everything. Oh, what? Are we hungry? You always dual source everything because you don't want to rely on any single supplier in case you get stung, in case they have a bad batch of something. You have multiple sources, and then you have within the architecture shared nothing architecture, so there's no single point of failure. You have to have 999999999 uptime, and this is what Trump is attempting to achieve with the global supply chain on these choke points. And so, in any event, that's what I'm working on, and I'm going to put that out here hopefully before midnight
Okay.
Central Standard Time. But I hope it's something that people can utilize to push back on these narratives, because they really want to scare the hell out of everybody and scare the hell out of the markets, and they're doing a damn good job of it. So anyway, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
We've not talked about at all about the boots on the ground for a limited operation. This is not. We'll go to that in 1 second. Go ahead, Kamal.
Yeah, I just want to appreciate you, Stealth. I really appreciate the space because actually I was talking about this whole subject in our church today with regards to the hatred, the intense hatred toward Jews, and the standard that's so high for Israelis when it comes to Christianity. And I brought up the point that I've been punched in the face in America. Does that make every American, a hateful person that's going to punch me in the face? The answer is obviously no. But because you have these people in Europe who are really in post Christian societies, they never talk about Christianity. And then they immediately come out and condemn what happened, which was clearly performative. And so, unfortunately, what's going on now here, and I agree with Victor Davis Hanson when he said, why did we support Israel? Because they're a great ally. And we see right now, has nothing to do with religion. And for me, as someone who comes from an African American background, during the civil rights movement, who was there with black people, Stealth, helping us?
Jews.
The
Yeah.
Jews. In Mississippi, 6 Jewish people did not come back because the Klan went after them.
Yeah.
I will never forget that. So it's bound by history, and it's completely secular in terms of support for Israel. I would rather have the Israelis and the Jews controlling Christian sites than I would Muslims. Because when the Jordanians controlled it, the Christians didn't have as much access and preference as the Muslims did. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
And so, again, I asked you earlier, and I'll land my plane here. I asked you today, I said, how many tweets did Pedro Sanchez, who's butthurt because Trump said he couldn't be NATO secretary, how many did Macron, how many did they write about the genocide against Christians in Nigeria? There were just Christians massacred on Palm Sunday in Nigeria today. Have any of these people talked about what's going on in Syria? And that's my big problem with this op that's going on. It's supported by certain segments, like Mel Gibson. He's a big anti-Semite. He's from the old school Catholic, and so you have to realize when bad faith actors are agitating because they want to amplify hatred against the Jews because it's the oldest form of hate. Just like I was worried about the Kurds in Syria, and I said, watch Jelani, it's not going to end with the Kurds. And what happens next? Who is his next victim? Victim, the Christians. And I'll land my plane there.
Thanks, Kamal. Okay. Anybody else want to comment on this before we go to what's happening with potential boots on the ground or anything like that? Anybody? Max, anything you want to bring up?
Are we're just talking about the like how all this is just like an op and like they don't actually care about the Christians.
Yes, we were talking about that.
Yeah, I mean I can talk about that forever. Like it's very
Yeah.
clear. Like it's not. This is not a pro. What happened here is not pro. And there was a great tweet I retweeted a while ago, but I tweet lots of times, so I can't find it. But it was I think it was like the opposition in Spain being like basically criticizing Sanchez for doing tons of stuff against Christians all the time, and then this is the one time he finally speaks up in favor of Christians, which is to say he's not speaking out in favor of Christians, he's speaking out against Israel, as if Israel is the problem, which is not. And we know that it's not, because when you talk to them and there's an issue like this, they fix it immediately. It was fixed immediately.
Yep.
Nobody like it's just people don't see Muslims as humans really, like because the idea is like bad behavior by Muslims, that's
Yeah,
just
they
something,
have no
it's like the
agency.
weather.
Right, they have no agency.
They're just animals. It's just the weather. You can't just say like, hey, don't do that. You know, everything is
It's
just
funny
about
they
Israel.
don't see depending on who that they are, they don't see Muslims as humans and Jews as humans in two totally different ways.
Well, in two different in two different
Yeah,
ways, right? Yeah.
like
But I
one has
saw
no
there was
agency. One is the sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, it's fine. There was this revealing comment. Um, what was it? A similar vein. Um, gotta find it. Free. Oh, here we go. So it was from Ghanem Nusseibeh, who follows me actually, founder of whatever chair of Muslims Against Anti-Semitism in the UK, and he's been following me. He's been following me for a little while, and I don't know like what he's written, but he I don't know, like today was kind of a mask off thing, and he was attacking Israel as many people are doing. Credit to the Daily Wire, credit to all the Catholics at the Daily Wire who were like critical of Israel but not like foaming at the mouth. They were saying like this is wrong and we should fix it. But anyway, Ghanem Nusseibeh, he posted something from Palm Sunday in Jerusalem in 1963, and it said and she said, when Jerusalem was free and part of Jordan. And I said, interesting admission about what you think free means. And because it's important, because so it's what we've always been saying all along, like free Palestine doesn't really mean free Palestine, because Palestine by their definition has never been free ever. So I always say that, like I always say when people say like Palestine is occupied, I'm like, well, was it occupied in 66? Was it occupied in 46? Was it occupied in 1918? Like when did it become occupied? And the answer is, of course, that occupation means Jewish. That it doesn't actually mean that Palestine is independent, because Palestine's never been independent because it's a region. It's stupid to be like saying free the Everglades. So, very revealing comment that these people just like they lie, and it's just everything is just a wedge. So the reason that these are all related is it's all just a wedge to attack the idea of any sort of Jewish sovereignty in the Holy Land. So when they do the Christian thing, the idea is like, this is the worst thing ever. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Authority is oppressing Christians all the time, but who cares about that, right? Because not the Jews. Same thing here. Like when Jerusalem was free and part of Jordan, free, quote unquote free. Okay, so something to think about.
Yeah,
It's all just
It's
a wedge.
Carlos Flores Huberias. He said that Sanchez has never said Merry Christmas ever, ever to his own people.
Who?
Uh,
Oh,
Pedro
Sanchez. Oh, you
Santos.
found
Yeah.
the tweet I was talking about?
what'd you say? That's the guy, Carlos
Oh, you found the
Flores.
tweet I was talking about? Yeah,
Yes.
he said he'll commemorate Ramadan, but he'll never say
Yes.
like he'll never talk about Easter, right?
Yeah, he says who turns state funerals into
Same thing with
quasi
Cardi.
Masonic rites from which even the dead themselves flee. That's what he wrote. who desecrated the temple that houses the largest cross in Christendom and is still mulling whether to tear it down or not, who expanded abortion, approved euthanasia, and applauded the execution of a 25-year-old girl. He giving all the things that Santos, who promoted a legislative reform to penalize the simple act of prayer in the vicinity of an abortion clinic, who treats the church as a nest of pedophiles and a mafia of traffickers of stolen babies, and whom we will never see atoning for his sins under a canopy in a Holy Week procession, as considered that today was a day to pat us Catholics on the back. This is a great post by this by Carlos. I got to tell you, very
And
highly
Spanish, that was
impressed.
fantastic
Yeah,
quote.
yeah, very impressed. Yeah.
In some ways today, I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind on this tomorrow, but in some ways today's op was the most disheartening of the last couple of years, right? Because at least the other ones, as disgustingly dishonest as they were like, if at least you could say, if that lie was true, that would be really bad. Like if this hospital was intentionally bombed by Israel, didn't happen, right? That would be really bad. If this, group of people was massacred intentionally, if these children, if the lie was the truth, then it would be really bad. This thing was, even if it was true, like sort of in the way that people were implying it was true, at worst it would be like unfair cop is a prick to the cardinal. Nobody alleged, including him, including his office, that he was beat up. Nobody alleged that he was spat on. Nobody alleged that he was obviously killed, God forbid. Any of that stuff. It was the allegation itself was kind of, let's say, a minor fault at worst, and this got turned into a literal international incident with I don't know, 10 or 12 major world leaders deciding to weigh in on it. In addition to people who are actually friends, like people like George Santos, was like, oh, I'll wait to see if the Western Wall, who I like George Santos, at least, in terms of his attitude towards jihad and Jews respectively. But he's like, I'll wait to see if the Western Wall is closed on the first day of Passover. But like, yo, motherfucker, it's closed now,
For
and it
three
was closed
weeks. For
yesterday.
3 weeks, it's
Yeah,
been closed almost a month.
and so is the Temple Mount,
But
our
then you
actual
told
holy
him
site.
you're better than that, and I said no, he is not.
Yeah.
The best part
Well,
was all the people. The best part was all the people who were commenting on it, like after it had already been resolved.
there's a lot of background noise. A lot of
Yeah, he's
background
in
noise.
Brazil.
Não tem equívoco nessa discussão.
Hold on. We don't speak. We don't. None of us speak Portuguese. Osvaldo.
Eu falo bem.
What'd you say? What? What, Max?
Fala mais em português, Osvaldo.
Oh, Max coming in with a little bit of Portuguese. I understand what's
Very
going on.
sexy. Very
Very
sexy.
sexy, Max. Okay, go ahead.
I want to hang with Max at Carnival.
Go ahead, Johnny.
He's spelled,
Go ahead, Johnny.
spelled.
Yeah, Johnny's
Okay.
been waiting. Give him a second, then I'll go to you. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, Stealth, you got me. I'm in the car.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know if it
good.
works. All right. How are you, love?
I'm okay.
Um, yeah, I
Frustrated.
know, I know. Thank you for bringing up the fact that God is a vengeful one and that he can get angry. Um, there's too many Catholics and Christians in this world, and you can identify them just by that. They think that he's always nice all the time. He's not. He's angry, and every right to be. And that.
No,
Thank you
no,
for bringing that up,
he's
and
a
that's how you
father
can
that
identify
that
him.
that 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 will spank his flock and punish his flock, especially those that know better. See, it's one thing that the one that don't know, who are
Right.
simple minded. There's people that have no idea what Palm Sunday is. Like I'm sorry, there are many people in the world, including probably a lot of Israelis. We don't even know who this simple Israeli police officer or soldier was. Like he's probably some 19-year-old kid. He has no idea. All he knows is all the streets are empty, and he's told nobody can go through because if God forbid something happens and somebody dies, he's gonna get put in the brig over it. Sorry.
A maioria do povo brasileiro
Hold on.
é é
Osvaldo, do you want
a
to
maioria do povo brasileiro por natureza ama o povo de Israel.
Max?
É,
He
talvez há
loves the people of
equívoco no
Israel.
Oh, no
contexto.
momento. Go ahead, Max. Speak in Portuguese to your friend here. Tell him where.
Não
Em
escutei muito.
português.
Escutei que você ama o povo de Israel.
Sim. He's just telling you that he's on the Israel side.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Gracias. Gracias.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't paying. Obrigado. It's
Yeah.
okay. Anyway,
Ah, isso mesmo, obrigado. Obrigado, Oswaldo.
de onde você é? É de Minas Gerais. Legal.
Minas Gerais.
Even the Brazilians know
No,
what's up. Um,
I've never
I know
been.
Minas
I've only
Gerais
been in
is a
Brazil.
region in Brazil. That I do know.
I have to go to. I have to go to Brazil.
I'm sure
Eu
you
não
do,
falo
Max.
uma
I'm sure you do.
palavra em inglês. Não falo uma palavra em inglês.
You don't. Not. He doesn't speak a single word.
Of
Não,
English?
não. Você não fala né? Uma palavra de inglês.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Max, is this
Go
from
ahead.
your Brazilian jiu-jitsu training? Is this why you speak Portuguese?
No, I just. No.
No, there's other things that he
No,
likes.
No.
I just know lots of things.
Yes, yes, yes.
Lots of
Anything
random
else
things.
you
Fair
want to hear
enough.
from any?
I just have to tell you guys, my husband
Eu
walked
ouvi
in
a
the room and
história.
I
É,
told him I'm learning to
é.
That's
speak
okay.
Portuguese and he
Pediu,
looked at me sideways.
desculpa, e eu queria fazer parte dessa discussão, mas infelizmente, o que se pode fazer?
He said he wants to be. Você quer ser parte dessa discussão? O que você opina? What do we want to ask him about?
É isso
No,
mesmo.
no, we don't want to ask him anything, really. We're going, it's up to
We
him what he
Mas
wants
é
to
um
we
share.
could ask
tanto
him.
difícil, né?
We could ask.
Complicado.
We could ask him if
He said it's
Bolsonaro is going to
difficult
win the
and
next election.
complicated to talk.
We can ask him how come they can't arrest Glenn Greenwald. We hold him responsible.
I forgot the word for arrest. Porque o governo do Brasil não I forget detain. What's the word for detain? Oh, now dete. Oh yeah. Porque o governo do Brasil não detete a Glenn Greenwald? Osvaldo.
Sim, sobre Glenn Greenwald, qual que seria a dúvida?
Porque a polícia não dete ele?
Mas a verdade é que é o seguinte, houve uma situação no Brasil a partir de 2018 e ele esteve envolvido numa situação em que toda uma operação que houve aqui de desmantelamento de uma operação contra o crime organizado e contra a corrupção no Brasil. E o Green Greenwald, ele tentou, não entendendo direito como era a política do Brasil, ele tentou, de alguma forma, interferir e houve aqui um grupo chamado Intercept que conseguiu, através de alguns hackers, conseguiu acessar as investigações e tudo, e acabou trazendo um transtorno para o Brasil no contexto de combate à corrupção. E, na época, o Greenwald, ele estava envolvido como jornalista e fez uma exposição dessa situação. Como jornalista, não havia nenhum problema, e o sistema jurídico à época, como isso iria favorecer o sistema jurídico que estava em parceria a, a, com a ideia de... Tá me ouvindo?
Okay, you're going to translate all that, Max?
One second.
Max? Yeah.
One second.
Zigos, can you help?
I heard the word situation,
Yeah, but maybe Zigos, do you speak Portuguese, Zigos?
and that he probably just
Something about
they
corruption.
don't
Then I
speak
missed the
Portuguese.
other part.
So basically,
They don't speak Portuguese in Brazil. They speak
well,
Brazilian.
Brazilian.
You're gonna
Well,
get lost in translation.
he was talking about how there was a group called the Intercept, and they gained a bunch of and he worked for the Intercept, and it caused a bunch of disruption in Brazil, and he was involved. And like as a journalist, there was no problem, but he caused a lot of problems, and I didn't catch all of it. But
You, Max,
um,
can you ask him if he thinks that Bolsonaro or someone allied with him will win the next election?
yeah, quem vai ganhar na eleição? Bolsonaro?
Flávio Bolsonaro.
Quanta porcentagem de probabilidade?
Atualmente, o Flávio Bolsonaro, ele é porque se divide em estados, né? Em alguns estados ele está com uma margem um pouco maior, mas de forma geral, Flávio Bolsonaro ele está com uma margem aí de 53%, a 47% de Lula da Silva.
He's saying that the polls right now show him that the polls show him winning 53 to 47 over Lula. So probable. É
Eu
provável.
poderia, eu poderia verificar aqui.
Oxalá. Because Lula barely won. He won like by less than a point. They stole that election. Anyway, do we want to change subjects so that people can actually understand what's going on here?
Yeah.
Does he have any opinions about Israel? Do we want to talk about? Well, he says he loves the people of Israel.
Yeah. No, I saw his post. But Osvaldo, how do you say tu travail with Bolsonaro or no? Because he's a lawyer. I thought maybe he works with Bolsonaro. I spoke to.
Osvaldo, trabalha com Bolsonaro como advogado?
Olha, eu apoio Bolsonaro, mas não trabalho com Bolsonaro.
He doesn't work with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he supports. He doesn't work with.
Eu apoio Bolsonaro.
No, I recently had a phone call with Eduardo. That's why I was asking. Okay.
We like Eduardo.
Max, I'm very impressed, buddy. I'm very impressed with your Portuguese. Well, the fact you speak Portuguese, very good.
I try to speak Portuguese. All right, we gotta move on. This
we're
is really
moving on.
very silly that I'm.
This is a Brazilian
Translating.
press.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
AB.
I'm showing off my mediocre Portuguese
Zigos,
skills.
go ahead.
For it.
Zigos, go ahead.
All right,
AB,
yeah.
you know.
Muito obrigado por todo.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Gracias, Osvaldo. Gracias.
AB,
Obrigado. Yes, sir.
you know the Shin Yin or Shin Yun depends on your dialect in
Yes.
Chinese.
Yes.
So
Yes. The Chinese thing.
they had a festival for March 15. It was canceled due to a bomb threat. So they moved it to today.
Wow.
They moved it to today at the Four Seasons Center in Mississauga. What do you think happened?
It was
Another
canceled due
bomb
to a
threat?
bomb threat.
There you go.
Mississauga.
Yeah.
Did it get not Knockbud? Knockbud's is a good thing. Did it get
Allah Akbar.
Canceled.
Allah
I
Akbar.
was trying to make a point because because they are anti CCP.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
second time they canceled their show.
They're promoted by my friends in the at the Epoch Times all the time.
Yeah. So
The
in Canada, if you're against CCP, you can't even do a festival anymore. That's the point. That's twice in a row.
Wow.
crazy. And it's just a dance performance, by the way. It's not like a controversial political, statement or anything like that. It's just basically art, traditional Chinese art, dancing.
So I just want to go back to what's going on with this sunlight. I know you want to jump in. I just want to know, Zigos, quickly, a quick update from you about Lebanon. Do you have a full thing up and running to talk about or no?
I'm exhausted. I just got home after a full day. However, the Iranians now are throwing rockets at Lebanon.
Wow. Because the Israelis are there.
No, because the American university is there.
Yeah, they're trying to hit the American university in Lebanon. Yeah.
Wow.
And guess what? They missed, and it landed in the Muslim street.
Wow.
I can't believe Israel.
Did it hit a madrasa?
Also, they said they were going to try to fire at the what's it called, Texas A&M in Qatar. Also.
Oh, I had a horrible.
Hey, leave Texas A&M alone.
I had a horribly snarky comment. There's evacuation is in somewhere in the U.S. There's like evacuations for there's a fire, right? There's like wildfires. Did anyone see that?
Oh, did you see the caterpillar that's plowing through people in a market in China?
No.
No.
That's a
Oh,
big
yeah.
caterpillar.
It's a big one.
Well, anyway, my snarky comment was there's evacuations for some. Well, I think it's probably California, but I don't know. Anyway, I saw this thing about wildfires, and my snarky comment was, well, you should evacuate everyone, but make sure not to evacuate the Christian because you don't want to come across as anti. You don't evacuate churches because you don't want to come across as anti-Christian.
Yeah, I thought it.
That being said, fires are different from rockets, and there's some accommodation. And if you want to have a small group that reconciles the risk, uh, then you can do that, and it doesn't have to cause an international incident, or maybe it does.
Yeah, we're treading new ground. We're breaking new ground every day. So we'll see what tomorrow's controversy will be for sure.
Yeah, so stuff real quick, if I could. The you're spot on with a good chunk of Catholics do not even know what Palm Sunday represents, nor are they even aware of what the Church of the Holy Sepulchre represents, for that matter. But it's interesting in history, when you look at the Romans and the Bar Kokhba revolt and how they disbanded the 12 tribes and scattered them across the four ends of the earth, and the Roman Catholic Church took over later to be split between West and East, and the Byzantines controlled Jerusalem. It's my understanding that at that time they only allowed Jewish pilgrims to go to Jerusalem one day a year, right? And also after the Muslim conquest, how did the Muslims treat Christian pilgrims or Jewish pilgrims? With visitation to the Holy Land or to Jerusalem. And yet, here we have Israel from 1948 forward offering and the control of Jerusalem. When did that happen? AB was that after the 48 war or the 67
67, 67.
67
The
war?
old,
Okay.
yeah, the old city, 67. Yeah,
Yeah,
all
the
of
old
those cities.
city,
Yeah.
but the old city, honoring all three of the Abrahamic faiths, to visit the holy sites, within Jerusalem. And so, this notion that this is something that is disparaging, to the Catholic Church because this guy went, I was at a Aerosmith concert, way back when, Stealth, and my brother and I slid past security, the first cordon of security. We almost got to the backstage party, and we were stopped. And we didn't take offense to that because we knew that that was a restricted area and we weren't supposed to be there. This was a restricted area for all the right reasons, and this guy went to go create controversy. It's obvious. It's as clear as a bell. For anybody with half a brain and logic, to see. But I think it's important to point out how the Jews treated Christians and Muslims to access holy sites within Jerusalem versus when Roman Catholics got control of the Holy Land, Judea and Samaria and Galilee and such. How they treated any returning Jews to come back to Jerusalem to practice various holidays, or how the Muslims treated both Christians and Jews. Once they got control, under what is it, Salahuddin. So historically, we need to keep this in perspective and amplify the differences between what happened, not to stir up anything, but just to show that as far as administration, like AB was saying, I'd much rather have the Jews in control of Jerusalem than any other group. Bottom line.
Yeah, it just
That's
even
what I
with.
said too.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. What I was saying is, even in the Muslim countries where they're known to treat Christians well, and I put that in quotation marks, you still see women, be Christian girls, being kidnapped because a Muslim person wants to marry them. Even in Egypt, which is known as is much better than Pakistan for Christians, you still see people who uh, fabricate these terms of blasphemy or someone insulting Muhammad, and then they just want their house, and they'll go and they'll burn up a whole Christian area. In Israel, you don't see that. Period. You don't see somebody has a better job or a better house, and then a Jewish person is going to go to the court and say, "Hey, this person insulted one of the prophets." That doesn't happen in Israel. Period.
What you're talking
So
to,
this whole op, huh?
But that's because Jewish people are
you're
human
talking
and
to something
Muslims are
that's very
not.
Kamal. You're talking to a very important point, which is that your average Western lib just has no real conception of just the order of magnitude difference between Israel and its neighbors. Like just like no real idea. Just this is the mere suspicion that someone is a Jew will cause these people to go absolutely nuts. A large portion of people to go absolutely nuts. Maybe it's only 20% of the population, but guess what? 20% of Egypt's 90 million is millions and millions of people. Big problem. It's sort of like blood. I mean, it is the same thing. Like you think about like old fashioned European blood libels from 1,000 years ago. Like one person starts a rumor, even though the church itself, like remember the Catholic Church, even pre Vatican II, they were, they said like these blood libels are stupid. There's no evidence for them. It doesn't matter if you get like 10%, like the bottom 10, 20% in terms of IQ of the population, you can get enough people to do something like that. And that's a huge problem in Egypt. And people just have no idea just how completely backwards and screwed up this is. And so then you get the
Tell
delusion, and that's
me,
how you get the Western delusion of hilarious
Max,
when
who
people say
can
it.
tell me? Who can
One
tell me?
state, liberty to sea with equal rights for all. It's like, oh, who's going to be in charge of that one?
Who can tell me of
Yeah,
one
I
Arab
mean,
country that is actually a democracy? You cannot compare Israel to any Arab country.
Yeah, and
They
the most
don't.
successful. What's the most successful? What's the most livable? What's the one Arab country that all of us who all of us would live in? It's UAE,
The
right? And
Emirates,
UAE
yeah.
is like not even a real country. It's like it's a real. It's like it's got this like ruling class. If you had democracy there, the people would vote it into like being a third world shithole, and it's a wonderful place, no doubt about it. Abu
No, they're
Dhabi
gonna
and
let
Dubai
you
are
live there,
incredible
Max.
places, but like we know we know it wouldn't like Abu Dhabi or rather the UAE is a successful model, but it's not a democracy. Like it's not self-governing at all.
Well, it's just a
They let you
banking
live
state
there
that
and
hosts
and
capital
enjoy
markets.
life. If you make a mistake, you have absolutely no rights. I lived in UAE. I had residency in UAE. I know the whole fucking game. So the Arabs do not understand democracy, and you cannot compare the Israel system that is actually pro Western, improved Western system to any of the Arab countries. So when I start hearing those kind of people comparing it, I'm like shaking my head. Like Egypt, I worked for a very long time in Egypt. I hate that place. It's one of the worst places I've worked in, and I've been in a lot of shitholes in my life. Egypt is on top of the list because of
You're
the
right.
food, because of the weather, because of how people deal. They can't run anything. You couldn't even get anything done. They give you an appointment at 4 p.m. They don't show up till 8 p.m. thinking it's fucking normal. I'm telling you, the Egyptians are a failed society. I don't know how they fucking run this country. I have no idea.
I
But the
Yeah.
the Christians are absolutely suffering they're considered like second class citizens. There's a lot of opportunities. If you are a Christian, you can never get it.
Well, the
Doctors.
way I think the best way of understanding it is it's not that they don't have a right to be alive, and that's not saying that they have to die. It's like just saying they don't have a right to be alive. So it's just like it's considered like this optional, expendable thing. So if it just so happens that something is alleged about some group of Christians, then whatever. Or like when swine flu, I remember this. Like I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. When swine flu happened in Egypt, they slaughtered every single pig in Egypt, something like that. They like slaughtered every single pig, and guess who eats the pigs? Guess who relies on the pigs for sustenance? It's the
yes.
Christian population. So it was like basically like it was talk about starvation as a method of war. They massacred the Christian, not massacred, but they like impoverished the Christian population in doing that.
But
And they have
even
to pay the
Yeah,
even
they
jizya.
mass slaughtered those
even
pigs.
even new babies now born in Egypt, they don't give them any more Christian names. The parents they understand that they can't advance and they will get bullied, so they give them a name that goes both ways. And in Egypt, like Munir and Hussam and all these Arab romantic words that they're not totally Muslim. They're not Hassan, Muhammad, and Ahmad and all that, but they are kind of in the neutrality, so you can't tell. and they're giving their kids those names. And women are suffering because of what you mentioned earlier. They just make a propaganda on her and they forced marry her, or they just rape her and then she has to marry them. So Egypt is a mess. Every country in the Middle East is a mess. I've been in every single one of them. Every single one of them. They're all shitholes. I'm telling you. And if you're thinking that, oh, UAE is a great place, is not such a great place. Like it's slavery, modern slavery, uh, on steroids, and you have no rights there. They let you live, they let you enjoy the malls, they let you enjoy whatever they have, but you make one mistake and the boom comes down on you. You have absolutely no rights. Saudi Arabia, same fucking thing. I walked into McDonald's one time by mistake. I walked from the family door instead of the single man door, and what separates them was the little velvet rope, and they lost their shit on me because I walked as a single man from the family one. So I turned around, go from the door, come back in through that fucking like it's a transparent rope. And I ordered my thing, and I go to eat my stuff. It's the whole thing is backwards. I'm telling you, the whole place is backwards, and I'm every
How
single
long ago
Arab
was it? How long ago was this? This with the rope and the separate doors. How long ago was this?
that was pre MBS, but it was
Oh,
great.
wow.
I mean, things that I've seen in
Also, this
Saudi
is
Arabia.
Saudi you're talking about, not UAE, but yeah.
No, no, not UAE. No way, no UAE. No. So UAE, the actual Saudis and UAE, like people, I had lots of friends, and we would sit. You can only drink in the hotels or in the nightclubs. So they would come to my hotel. They will order, let's say, a whiskey or a vodka or anything, but they would place it in front of me, and they will put a Coca Cola in front of them. And that's supposed to be my drink. So, and then they will reach over toward my drink and drink their vodka and whiskey, but then they put it right in front of me in case somebody comes in and sees them. Then they think, oh, they're not drinking, they're drinking Coke. I'm telling you, they drank more than me, 10 times more than me, because
The Christian guy made me do it. The Christian guy made me do it, right?
I'm telling you, I'm a casual drinker. I'm not a drinker. Like, I drink very rarely, and these guys can drink, and they would like down 5 or 6 or 7 in 2 hour meetings.
Sounds like a Baptist wedding. Z goes, where you have the back room, they have the front, and then you have the back room where everybody's partying, smoking cigars and drinking. Same with the Mormon wedding, if you've never been to one.
Sunlight. I went to. I'm not gonna mention names. I'm not gonna mention titles. Even in Saudi Arabia, I kid you not. He had more liquor than the average pub in the Western world in his house. And he asked me if I need a drink, and I'm like, no, I'm taking a taxi back to the hotel. They smell alcohol on me. I'll be like in so much trouble. He goes, no, 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 no. Don't worry. I give you a lot of parsley. Eat parsley after the drink. They can't smell it. I'm like, oh, so that's what you do? He goes, yeah. And he had so many drinks. We sat, smoked cigars together, stuff like that. I didn't have any drinks. And then he drank. It was in his house. So I'm telling you, they have more alcohol than what you think. It's everything is haze. Everything is haze. If you have to be there to understand how they operate.
Yeah, a good friend of mine was in the oil industry, and he, for a number of years, a couple decades, and was based out of Saudi Arabia, and he would fly in Riyadh. He said the damnedest thing was, they'd get on the intercom and they'd say, "We're like an hour out. We're about to cross Saudi Arabia's space."
Listen, you get on the plane with
Bags,
Saudi
and they
Airlines.
pick up all the Playboys and all the magazines and all the cigarettes and all the alcohol and everything. Just and then the women would get up, to
Okay.
go into the bathroom to change into the
I seen it
burqas.
with my
And
own eyes. I seen it with my own eyes. So the first time I took.
Hey, Stealth, are you moving on to boots on the ground? I wanted
Yes,
to catch
yes,
some of
yeah.
that.
Let's talk about the boots on the ground in Iran, you guys. Can we talk about this for a second?
I was having fun with burqas in the air. Okay, but yeah, let's go to boots
It's
on the
your
ground.
space. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what is the deal with what's happening with boots on the ground with the Iran war stuff? Where are we at with that?
I think. I mean, I think it's basically we don't know, and they're doing. It's the same thing as like when they were doing the build up before the actual strikes happened. Um,
you don't really know what's going to happen, but like everything is on the table, and there's always a possibility nothing will happen. Um, but it kind of, I mean, if you're reading the tea leaves, then you know there's not going to be like a ground invasion of like Iran in general. What it's going to be is um, like Karg Island, which Trump's been obsessed with for 40 years, probably because Israel paid him to think that it was important.
You have to explain.
What?
You have to explain to people that you're being part.
Well,
Huh?
did you see
What?
Stokes?
It's
Did
so
you see
funny. It's
Rubio's?
so
Did
funny.
you see Rubio's comment? His post earlier today
No.
said the operation will go for another 3 or 4 weeks and no boots on the ground. I'll dig
I
it up
I
and
think
don't
look
know
at
how
that's
it
big
It's
it
again.
is.
technically an
well,
island. I don't know if it's really the ground. So I just think that no, Nick Fuentes is explaining Trump's strategy and explaining it very well, where he said that the Iranians have kind of held the Western world.
Lost you.
Do
Me
you
too. You want
think
to play
they're
that game?
gonna have
And
boots on the
he,
ground? They're gonna tell you ahead of time. Obviously, no one's gonna tell you ahead of time.
but we live
You
in a
guys don't even know,
democracy,
so it
Zigos.
doesn't matter. But
They have to do a referendum before they do anything, Zigos. Come on.
They have to get Megan Kelly's approval for all military actions. If
Notarized. It
Megan
has to
Kelly
be. She's a
approves it,
lawyer. It
then it's
has to be
legit.
notarized.
I wouldn't be
All
surprised
indications.
if
All
they are
indications.
luring those Iranians there to those islands because we know they're decimated, and then we just unleash all the air power. If they lure like what's left of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and the besiege to build up, because the Iranians are saying we're going to make this a graveyard for you, we're going to do this and that. I wouldn't be surprised if the op is let's get the Iranians to put their best soldiers left. That's what's left of them, and then we just unleash the A-10s on them, and we unleash the helicopters on them and level them. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens.
All indications. To answer your question, all indications based on what we know, what has been announced is being sent to the region, is that they're sending enough and the type of forces to do large raids, or temporary kind of seizures of small amounts of territory. They're not sending enough or the right type of forces to do any kind of large based invasion. For sure, Trump is openly musing, especially today that some of the latest comments came out. Trump is openly musing about, there's definitely going to be an effort made to force the Strait of Hormuz open. There's a very high chance something along those lines is going to happen. In what form will it happen? There's 5 or 6 or 7 different islands that are sort of in the strait that have been discussed: Keshem and Leshem and whatever. Obviously, Karg and Abu Musa and 2 other ones that I can't remember right now. Um, so depending on whether they want to if they want to take care of the so-called toll booth that the Iranians have instituted to charge tankers for passing through there, or if they want to seize the oil, or if they want to prevent the
Okay.
Iranians from. Yeah.
Sorry. So there's a statement here. This came 4 hours ago, I think.
Reports came in of a single missile strike, and what I want to show you behind me here is one crater behind me, and there's an excavator working right now. What that excavator is trying to do is dig up the remnants of whatever missile buried itself in there upon impact. So one big crater, there's a second big crater here. So clearly we had 2 missile impacts. Witnesses say there were one after the other. We have had so many of these cluster bombs in recent days where they drop off bomblets with 10 pounds of explosives. Clearly, this is something more than that. In recent days, we have seen some of these missiles come in with 100 kilograms or 220 pounds in the warheads. This seems to sync with that. It's not one of the big 1,000-pound warheads. Still, it's powerful enough to take out all the windows of the surrounding buildings. If you look behind me here, there's a junkyard for cars there. One of the cars is tipped up. All of the windows are blasted out of that. So the IDF is investigating right now, particularly with the missile defenses, why the system alerted to the incoming single missile and why 2 missiles were able to get through. One of the things we know and one of the things the IDF says is the missile defenses are 90% accurate, but that means 10% will get through. In this case, we hear of 11 injuries, none of them serious. Just outside of Jerusalem, Mike Tobin, Fox News. All right. Thank you so much for that, Mike. Obviously, lots of developments in that region as the Washington Post reporting that the latest that the Pentagon preparing for weeks of ground operations in Iran. This a post from Trey Yinks about this as he was reporting it on the ground. We're hearing, though, from Caroline Levitt saying these are just plans that President Trump will have to initiate. Let's be joined right now here on Live Now from Fox by Chief National Security Reporter for Reuters, Phil Stewart. Phil, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And obviously, we are now entering a fifth week of this conflict in Iran. Where do we stand? Are ground troops on the mind? What's your latest reporting? It's just like you put it. I mean, there are thousands of U.S. forces moving into the region still, and the president has to decide: is he going to up the ante and put troops on the Straits of Hormuz, along on the shores inside Iran? Is he going to take Kharg Island, which is a crucial hub for Iran's economy and vital for its oil industry? Or is he going to stick with bombings of military targets and then call it a day? And we just don't know yet. Okay, so these people don't. I don't think these people know what's going on. That's like my question is I'm trying to figure out. Typically, you know, I don't know. I think there's some threatening right now that's going on by the president, saying he'll go in certain places or certain statements that are going on. I think they're gonna have special operations. That's for sure, like special forces operations that we may
Yeah,
not know about.
and
That's what I.
he
It's
talked today
yeah.
about seizing the oil today explicitly. You know, this is one of his favorite subjects. Like maybe we'll take the oil, just like we're doing in Venezuela, blah blah. But maybe we'll take the oil. So clearly he's they're
He has a lot of options.
he has a lot of options. They're positioning it to do so, right. And like I said, they're moving in. I think there's right now going to be enough for like 10,000, give or take 10,000 troops of various services. We know whether Marines or Army or Navy or whatever. Special ops. You could do a lot of different things. You could do a nuclear, nuclear retrieval. You could do the Hormuz stuff or other stuff. But I think there's probably a pretty good chance. Oh, another thing. Right now, there's the USS Gerald R. Ford is currently in port. This is all open source. I'm not giving it. Is currently in port, getting some minor repairs in Croatia after it was in Crete for a while because there was a laundry room fire there and it kind of burned a bunch of mattresses. So it's getting some slight repairs. Also, simultaneously, the USS. Hold on a second. The
Yeah, no, I
USS
just
George.
FDD did put out an extensive media call on Friday. Those everybody should always listen to. That's 2 days ago. The FDD media call, the Strait of Hormuz, the military, energy, and economic challenges. So I'll post it so you guys can listen to it later. Go ahead, AB.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So also simultaneously, the USS George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier group is on its way. Is on its way to the Middle East, right? So there's a chance. Again, we don't know. There's a chance that at least for a short period of time, let's say within the next week or so, in the next week or 10 days, that there will be three carrier groups in the region. The Lincoln, which is still actively participating as we speak. The Ford, which is undergoing relatively minor repairs to fix some smoke damage, and the George H.W. Bush, and that would, along with all the destroyers and stuff like that that accompany the whole carrier group, right? That would enable a very large scale a concentration of bombing on the coastline area to take out any defenses that the Iranians have there on the little islands or around the coast, as well as there's a couple of Marine Expeditionary units and army units that have arrived recently. So yeah, the president's going to have a lot of options. It's not going to be an Iraq-style invasion for sure. At least there's nothing there indicative of that. But looks like there's a pretty good chance of some other stuff, and we'll have to wait and see in the next week.
Hey, read what I sent you on DM.
We'll do.
It's a long read, though.
I like long reads. Let me check it out here. One sec.
I think if the Houthis come all in, that's something else we have to look at. Because if
Yeah.
they come all in, they're definitely going to need all those strike groups. And I don't know, there were reports of us burning through a lot of Tomahawks. And perhaps that's a concern. So we also have to look at if the Houthis come all in. And the biggest mistake Trump made in his first term was listening to kooks like Rand Paul and Bernie Sanders, who argued that the Saudis and the Emiratis were committing crimes against the Houthis. When they were carpet bombing the Houthis weren't controlling that Red Sea area. But you had kooks like Rand Paul, who should not be on the Foreign Relations Committee, and Bernie Sanders, who put all this pressure on the Trump administration, and we withdrew our military support when the Saudis and the Emiratis had the Houthis under control.
Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, sorry. Hegseth's got a lot more control over this than you guys think he does. I can tell you that in terms of boots on the ground stuff, they've started to limit my food intake. So, I think it was Sterling who said it. Which I'm reading tea leaves or whatever, but I'm reading that they're prepared to put boots on the ground.
Yeah, and it's sort of it's because this is a
But
high IQ space. It's kind of time for the wider public to like stop using like scare words. Like I'm not saying you're just Johnny. I'm saying people outside of the space. Like boots on the ground as if it's a scare to or regime change. It's like every country, every situation, every war, every conflict is very different and has very unique circumstances, and and we shouldn't be afraid of putting like there's a reason why the U.S. spends $1 trillion a year on the military, right? Considering the military in general is not allowed to deploy, it's constitutionally prohibited in most cases from deploying domestically. It's for foreign threats, and if we weren't in the retarded period of information we are right now, it's kind of almost universally acknowledged by Democrats and Republicans, even Barack Obama, even Jimmy Carter, right? Well, after they took office, Ronald Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Joe Biden, that Iran is an adversary of the United States. If you have a military and if you're going to spend big money on it, it makes sense to spend it against a nation with a longtime 47-year adversary that's at a relatively weak point and has killed killed or injured over 1,000 Americans.
absolutely,
Well, Tucker
absolutely. And
said
if
radical
American people
Islam
really
hasn't killed any
knew,
Americans.
Sorry, you were about to say something, John?
do you guys not know how much money it costs to train special ops? Each individual one of us. Do
Oh,
you have any idea how much it
well,
costs? And
millions.
then to know this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's 1.5 million each one, and then you don't want to use us? It's ridiculous that for the Americans have that standpoint.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's ever been.
I assume special ops and CIA is already on the ground. I assume that.
Yeah,
Well,
could
I
be.
actually disagree. I think it's like having a Corvette. Like, if you keep it in your garage and just rub it with a diaper, that's the correct way to deal with it. But if you go and drive it and, like, whatever, bounce off the rev limiter, then you're actually ruining the value for the next person. So, if you do
Leave it
actually
to
use
you to say
soldiers.
that.
No, listen, if you actually give soldiers the opportunity to put into practice everything they train to do, then the problem is that when they go and they get in their next career working in insurance or whatever, private equity, they won't actually, they'll be ruined, right? So I think
What next
personally,
career?
yeah, keep soldiers on the American home soil.
That is our career. Well, our career is to fight. That's what we chose.
No, no,
So
you chose to be
I
trained.
mean,
I
You
don't
guys,
think you chose
I'm
violence.
sorry. Somebody just tweeted something out I've never seen before. Pictures of Tulsi Gabbard with the head of the Antifa group in Portland and Occupy ICE. Did you guys, Evan Duke, and then pictures with her with Sarah Brady? I didn't realize who Sarah Brady was.
Are they surfing?
No, there's the surfing video, but there's the video of them with the Antifa ICE group was in Portland. You can see the post that's in the upper bubble. I did not know this.
That's weird. Hey, but as far as like the attrition, discussion, I mean, the Apache attack helicopter has 70 millimeter rockets, that they fire that are laser guided and they're taking out drones, and those cost about 10 to 20 grand each. And the Tripoli has a whole bunch of Apaches on it as well as F-35As, which are kind of like Harrier jump jets, from what I understand. They have a vertical takeoff and landing capability, and they also fire, Sidewinder missiles that are, cost effective. But certainly, the drone swarms have caught our defenses a little bit flat-footed, because drones are slipping through the gauntlet, and so we have to develop, new technologies to address that, and like the Israelis, of course, with Iron Beam is the amazing technologies.
But the Americans have also they've reverse engineered the Shahed, right? You read about that, I'm sure,
Yeah,
right?
and
So they
then and now they're interceptor drones. So the suicide drone meets the
correct,
suicide drone in the air, and they both have a little love fest. But the
and then
Iranian drones don't get to go to heaven and get 72 Virgin drones, so that's off the table.
no, exactly. And anyone who thinks that, not to mention the A10, which they I read an incredible thread. Any military guys here or people who follow it,
Yeah,
an
the
incredible
Warthog.
thread about it. Yeah, I mean the Warthog's phenomenal, but the Air Force people are always fucking trying to retire it, like constantly, because it's been around forever, right? But it's like, but every infantryman and person who like works on the ground, it's like they love it. It's their best friend. So I read this super long thread from a military vet about like basically like an ode to the 810, right, and how much they freaking love it. He told the story. What he said was a true story. I think it was during the. I'm not sure if it was the first Gulf War or the second Iraq War, where a female pilot went in there and she was shot. She took a direct hit from an
That's Cannonball Run. It's AC Campbell, Killer Chick.
yeah, killer chick, exactly. She took a direct hit from, I think, I don't know if it was a manpad or an ATGM or whatever, right? Like direct hit,
Yeah,
and she lost all of her electronics. But because the A10 is the A10 and it's designed the way it is, she was relying strictly on, like, she was flying just by but basically
That's sick.
by,
Physical
by
labor.
the stick and how much power you can produce, right? So she lost all
yeah.
electronic aspects.
If there's any pilots out there, what she pulled off was absolutely amazing. She's a hell of a pilot.
Like, yeah, all these hearings, and the Air Force people always want these big expensive planes, and the place for those planes, obviously. But like, but you can't replace, in terms of like close air support, you can't replace the A10, and it's basically like a plane designed around a Gatling gun. Like, and he's like, that's the way it looks, and that's what it is, with a ton of armor, self-sealing, fuel tanks, all that stuff. And so he was recommending that, like, the military should commission a newer version, an updated version of the A10. They should reject the perennial advice from Air Force people to get to mothball it for good. They should accept the advice of all the ground, the infantrymen and the spec ops and all those guys, to keep it, and they can make a new one, but with the same basic features, and keep it in service, because it's incredible. It's just an incredible
The
plane.
A-10's amazing.
There's
It's an
also no
amazing
plane
plane.
with such a cool name. Like, it's the Warthog, and it was made by Fairchild Republic, which is a Star Wars name. Like, I want defense contractors with Star Wars names.
Yeah, and how, like, even just the sound of it is so distinctive. Like, anyone who's followed war for a long time, obviously people who've been in war, and like, it terrifies the enemy, right? Just they hear it coming in, they hear that gun going, and they
Because
step.
it's got to spin up. That's the
Mm-hmm.
There's also
spin up that you
nothing
hear, and
else
the
like
thing's
it. Like
amazing.
Live Leak. Live Leak
Right.
wasn't the same
But
until,
if you
you
guys
know,
haven't read it, anybody who's here who hasn't read about it, you need to read about what Killer Chick did. There was two of them. It was Killer Chick and her lead pilot, and it's Cannonball Run 2. I know that's a movie, but that's what they were calling it. You guys got to read it. She saved at least 600 lives.
Was that
Stealth.
was that
We
the
get real excited when we talk about weapon system stealth, so got to let the boys have our
was that
space.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't read it, you got to read the story. She wasn't on the mission. She wasn't supposed to be there. Got in trouble, called the Mayday. They turned their planes, and the two of them went and fired off 600 rounds and dropped 52 bombs in like minutes.
Yeah, and in this current war, it's been strafing the islands around Hormuz. It's been taking out all the PMF in Iraq, and no major problems with it so far.
And the PMF are now in Iran. They've deployed to Iran. I don't know why we didn't take them out as they were crossing the border, but I mean, the A-10 is going to come in and play with the PMF now, helping out the Iranians in their territory.
I don't know why we're listening to the Air Force anyway. Why are we listening to the second best pilots in the military? Listen to the damn Navy. What do they want?
Funny. That's hilarious. Stealth, you there?
I'm here. Do I need to babysit everybody for a second? Okay, I just was wondering when you guys were done, and so I was okay.
No, we're nerding out about
You said the boys needed to have a discussion period, so yes, you're having your discussion period. Stealth is busy posting.
Yes, I'm.
I was going to say it's underappreciated because it has the ability to get low like a helicopter, but it also has the ability to get out quickly, like unlike a helicopter, and it's an armored plane. It's very rare that you have a vehicle or anything that can fly or, go across an area the way the A-10 can. It can get shot at with the type of like guns, heavy machine guns and that kind of thing, and keep the pilot safe and actually get out. So like there's a whole like armored case around the pilot, around everything, containing it, which keeps the pilot safe, allows them to kind of be comfortable getting very close, offering that ground support. There are other planes that do ground support, like the Sky, what's it called, the crop duster of death, the Sky Warden, whatever that is. But it's not armored and it can't carry the heavy gun because it's really just a crop duster with a bunch of like the rockets on it. So the A-10 probably is never going to be replaced with anything except maybe a drone with a similar kind of feature setup. But again, it's the armor, it's the ability to go fast and go slow, and the ability to just penetrate through anything with the huge cannon.
Okay, so I have a little bit of here from TBN on Pentagon. Run. Are the American military forces right now organizing to seize Karag Island in Iran? In the United States, they are speaking publicly about negotiations, but secretly preparing for ground action in Iran. At the Pentagon, they are preparing for a weeks-long campaign to open the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. intelligence has exposed the breaking point of the Revolutionary Guard, a blow to the regime in Tehran. Dozens of bombs were dropped on Iran's rare and heavily protected site. Last night, the Air Force of Israel struck in Tehran a central site used by the Iranian Defensive Ministry to produce major components for ballistic missiles. Israel dealt Iran a blow at the heart of its economy and erased Iran's giant steel plants. And with all of this, today, yet another senior figure in Iran's nuclear program was eliminated after 3 scientists were terminated in mysterious explosions. Iran's president is against the Revolutionary Guards, and according to Pezeshkian, without a ceasefire, Iran's economy will collapse. And the warning in the United States, just 8 hours from the White House, Iran's ghost army is waiting for the order from Canada. All the details are coming up next. Russian revenge against the United States. Is that coming up or not? We will bring you the full story behind the destruction of the American intelligence aircraft in Saudi Arabia and why Russia is connected to all of it. Oh, shit. And we will also bring you what can be learned from Houthis joining this war. I'm Yair Pinto. With me is Mati Shoshani, and we are boots on the ground. And this morning, sirens again all across Israel. 4 launches from Iran since this morning began, and all of them intercepted. Thanks God. And at this hour, the IDF has completed another wave of strikes deep inside Iran. The Air Force aircraft completed another focused wave of strikes a short time ago against the core infrastructure of the terrorist regime. The targets included the capital, Tehran, and other strategic areas throughout the country. The IDF is striking the Revolutionary Guard's targets in Shiraz. And last night, Israel erased Iran's steel giants. Security officials estimated the damage caused to the regime by the strikes on the military industries is in the tens of billions of dollars. Many hundreds of factories were destroyed, and hundreds of commanders in the industrial network were terminated. The Air Force, under the direction of the military intelligence, completed during the night a broad wave of strikes against the infrastructure of the Iranian terrorist regime in Tehran. As part of the effort to deepen the damage to the regime's military industries, the IDF struck a central site used by the Iranian Defensive Ministry to produce major components for ballistic missiles. The site is one of the only 2 of its kind
in Iran. And over the weekend, in Iran, more than 100 targets of the Iranian terror regime were attacked. In Lebanon, more than 800 Hezbollah terrorists were eliminated, and more than 170 infrastructure sites of the terrorist organization were attacked. We are already a month into the war with Iran. The military leadership in the United States is presenting the achievements of the air-pounding campaign. The United States has crossed the threshold of 11,000 targets that were struck inside Iran, alongside more than 150 Iranian vessels that were damaged or destroyed. Just a few days ago, on March 2026, 23 of March, CENTCOM was still standing at more than 9,000 targets, more than 9,000 combat sorties, and more than 140 vessels, meaning that in less than a week, and during the negotiations, American strikes were added at a very high pace. This means thousands of strikes and targets. The target list includes headquarters and intelligence branches of the Revolutionary Guards, the air defensive arrays, the ballistic missile sites, the coastal missile sites, the military communications infrastructure, the missile and the drone production plants, bunkers for storing weapons, ships, and submarines of the Iranian Navy, and military assistance facilities. And all of it was carried out through a massive firepower array that included B-1, B-2, and B-52 bombers, F-15, F-16, F-18, F-22, and F-35 aircraft, electronic warfare aircraft, refueling aircraft, Apache helicopters, MQ-9 drones, one-way attack drones, nuclear aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, missile destroyers, and also Patriot, THAAD, and HIMARS systems. After all of this, what is now taking shape at the political level in the United States is a decision on the next stage, whether to intensify the strikes until the complete collapse of the rule of the Ayatollahs, or to use the tightening of the economic stage to reach a breaking point. In recent days, reports have been rising that the United States is preparing to send ground forces onto the Iranian soil in order to carry out raids by special forces and infantry. American officials said yesterday that the plan is to strike military infrastructure and that the forces may seize Karag Island. U.S. Central Command is publishing dramatic footage from the air of the sinking of what remains of the Iranian Navy at sea. Iran is deploying an arched defense array in the Strait of Hormuz, including anti-ship missile batteries, swarms of suicide drones, and smart naval mines. The strategy of the Revolutionary Guards is intended to turn the world's main energy route into a debt trap, while collecting illegal transmit fees from civilian vessels, in a move that is seen in Washington as state-backed international piracy. And did Russia provide intelligence to Iran? The Revolutionary Guards are boasting of the painful hit on the American aircraft, but was it based on Russian intelligence? Iran destroyed a strategic American asset. Was it with the Russian support or not? A severe blow to the American intelligence took place. Iran hit the special aerial asset of the United States military in Saudi Arabia. This refers to one of the strongest intelligence tools of the U.S. military, a Boeing E-3 Sentry aircraft, which was destroyed in an Iranian strike on Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. Ukraine claims Russia photographed the base by satellite 3 times before the strike. And today, in the regular parade of threats by Iran's senior officials, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf said that Iran's army is waiting for the entry of United States ground forces so that it can set them on fire and punish countries in the region that cooperate with the Americans. Cracks at the top of Tehran. Iran's president is in direct confrontation with the Revolutionary Guards over the management of this war. On his part, Iran's president warned of the economic collapse of his country. He's demanding that executive authority be returned to the government, but Revolutionary Guards commander General Vihadi firmly rejected all these demands. The current situation is that Iran's president is standing against the Revolutionary Guards. And according to Pezeshkian, the Iranian economy may collapse within 3 to 4 weeks. Tension developed between Iran's president and the commander of the Revolutionary Guards around the way of this war is being managed and its destructive effects on the local economy. In response to Iran's president, the Speaker of the Iranian parliament, who was marked by Trump as a possible leader of the Islamic Republic on the day after the war, attacked the United States and said today, the enemy openly sends a message of negotiations and secretly plans a ground attack. He added, as long as the Americans seek Iran's surrender, our response is clear. We will never surrender. In the shadow of the contacts between Iran and the United States, the Emiratis are making clear that any arrangement must include a commitment to prevent future attacks and compensation for the damage caused after thousands of launches towards them took place. And a month into this war, civilians in Iran are wondering whether it will bring down the regime or make it more extreme. And the Houthis from Yemen, remember the terrorists on flip-flops that are launching rockets? Yes, they are back. And in the last 24 hours, they launched a ballistic missile, a cruise missile, and a drone at Israel. So will the campaign expand into Yemen? A senior IDF official announced that the army is prepared for Houthi fire and that they are only a distraction. In the IDF, they claimed that already at the beginning of the war, they had prepared for the Houthis joining this campaign. The message of the Houthis is meant to improve Iran's position in negotiations with the United States. The Houthis, who are busy rebuilding devastated Yemen after internal wars and Israeli and American strikes, are therefore not rushing to open a direct front despite the launches towards Israel. Their threats are meant to deter Saudi Arabia, the Emiratis, and Donald Trump, and to remind them that they have the power to shut down another important strait as well. There's a lot ahead of us, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and with me is Mati Shoshani, and we are boots on the ground that bring you the full truth about what's happening in Israel. And this is day 30 of the war against the Revolutionary Guards in Iran, which is the head of the crumbling axis of evil in the Middle East. And just before we begin, I want to call on you to keep spreading the truth. Share our content with as many people as possible. Click on the subscribe button, and most importantly, to Mati Shoshani in the last couple of days.
That's a lot of news. I'm sorry. It's
I like to
crazy.
do all the time. Before we get started here, I don't think you got a chance to see this. There was just a ballistic missile from Iran that fell in the northern Negev in Ramat Chovav, which is Israel's treatment center for hazardous materials. So this is breaking news that just happened literally as we started this broadcast.
This is 4 hours ago.
Touched ground in the northern Negev in Ramat Chovav, which is Israel's hazardous material treatment center. The government has already said that there doesn't seem to be a leak or release of anything substantially dangerous, but that just shows you what the Iranians are going after. They're going after ways to harm the population. By the way, this center is minutes away from the biggest city in southern Israel, Beersheba, a biblical city. So I wanted to just give that quick update as we're entering into this part of the broadcast. Any casualties, Mati? None. No casualties and no substantial damage as of yet. But again, a substantial uptick all day in missile launches from Iran towards Israel, from the Houthis towards Israel, and of course, in addition to that, from Hezbollah in Lebanon towards Israel. Just make sure you don't lose me in the broadcast. No, we're still here. Yeah, I'm still with you. So, Mati, it looks like this war is about to escalate even further because we have reports of more boots on the ground, more soldiers, and more military power that are coming into the region. While at the same time, negotiations does not seem like they're moving anywhere because basically America is telling the Iranians, stop with your nuclear program, stop with your ballistic missile program, and stop funding terrorists all over the world and all over this region. And the Iranians are saying, okay, we received your demands. These are our demands. Pay us back everything that you harmed us in all the damages of this war. And then also let us continue the nuclear program. Let us continue the ballistic missile. And of course, we are not talking even about financing our proxies in this region. So it's kind of like there is no negotiation. There is no middle ground. Looks like the only option is escalation. Can you break this down for us? Yeah, I'd say maybe that is exactly the negotiation that we're looking at. I mean, in the Middle East, sometimes the negotiations are like in a bazaar. With the Iranians, the negotiations are always like in a bazaar, not in the good way, by the way, in the bad way, where you say one thing and they say, well, we never planned to sell any of this. Let's start from the beginning. Trump put forward his 15-point plan. The Iranians responded with their 3-point, their 5-point, and today their 9-point plan for the negotiation. And in it are, requests like Israel and the United States. I can't not laugh when I repeat these things. Must be recognized internationally as the aggressors. Very important that everyone knows that the bad guys in this story are the people who are trying to prevent us from using nuclear weapons to kill other people. Yeah, clearly these are the bad guys. These are the aggressors. So, I think this is a big part of the negotiation. I think this indicates that the Iranians are trying to stall and draw out time. And really, at this point of the negotiation, time is playing in the Iranians' benefit to a certain degree. And let me explain that. We know they don't care about casualties on their side. We know they sanctify death. We know they want to inflict maximum suffering, maximum pain, maximum financial damage. If they draw this out longer, that plays to their benefit. They have, relatively substantial cash reserves, oil reserves. They've prepared themselves for an extended war. They're happy waiting another week. They're happy to inflict pain and maximum political pressure and financial pressure, both on the U.S. and European countries. That sort of plays along their narrative. So I don't know that this is really not a negotiation. It's not a negotiation in the traditional way where everyone says, this is what I want, let's sit down and talk. We're playing a negotiation that involves an active fist fight, Yael. While we're negotiating, we're bombing their targets. They're trying to get back into Israel. They're trying to bomb Israel. They're trying to use the Houthi proxies to cause damage to Israel. They're firing at American planes parked throughout the Middle East, which is very substantial. When you look at the financial costs of this, at least for a country like Israel, we're talking a substantial amount of money. For the American war machine, this is not a substantial financial loss, but for a country like Israel, it's considered a lot of money. They hit, one of their intelligence planes just the other day on the tarmac in Saudi. So again, it's a substantial fight that's taking place where clearly Israel and the United States have the upper hand. But when it comes to the negotiation, we're very much in the early phase of this negotiation. Very much so. I think there's possibly weeks ahead of us before anything substantial materializes and is clarified from this negotiation. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It doesn't mean it's not working. It just means we're still in the early phase of it. Okay. And we keep hearing reports after. That's like half the video. I'll post the video for the rest of it. I'm gonna go to a hand and then I gotta go. I'm sorry. I have somewhere to be. Go ahead, Kava.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is a great space. I do want to say something. So I've been studying the Iranian regime for over 20 years now, and one thing is I've noticed in the American circles is they underestimate the brutality for them in terms of what they do to survive. So this regime, I know everybody thinks is very ideological, but I want to go back to 2003. In 2003, this regime offered to George Bush what was called the Grand Bargain, where they said they will give up their nuclear program, recognize Israel, stop funding Hamas and Hezbollah and everything. And does that sound like an extremist regime, or does that sound like an opportunist regime? So my point is, right? Obviously, George Bush rejected that offer, and we are where we are right now because of it. I don't know if it was the right move or not, but we are where we are. But my point is that this regime, in the West, people always do not understand this regime because it's not just one man. It's not just Ali Khamenei. It's not Moshtaba Khamenei. It's not just what in Iran they're called Safa, the IRGC. It's a mosaic, right? A melting pot of tyranny, if you will, where you have multiple factions that were actually held together by Ali Khamenei. Because how it would work was basically Ali Khamenei would give each person like their own little fiefdom, similar to what Putin does with their oligarchs, but with a tighter leash. Now that Ali Khamenei is out, and Trump's talking about he's talking to certain people. It's a quote unquote regime change. What he's talking to is a different faction within the regime. I don't know who this faction is, I have my thoughts. I have my ideas of who he's talking to, but so that's my point. And I'm sure the American and Israeli intelligence probably know this, but typical talking heads don't talk about this because up until what a couple of weeks ago, most people didn't even know what the Strait of Hormuz was. They didn't know what Kharg Island was, or there's a whole bunch of other things that everybody's going to start discovering as time goes on. But yeah, thank you so much. Ask me any questions if you want. Thank you.
Cav, the so-called, yeah, the answer is they are a highly ideological regime, especially sort of at the clerical level, and some of the senior IRGC. But there's also obviously a lot of entrenched economic and business interests, and they control a huge part of the economy. But they are as ideological as they seem. At least many of them are. We'll say not all of them, right? There's people who are just there for the jobs or the economic opportunity or the lifestyle, but yeah, they are true believers. They really do believe in the whole 12th Imam, the Mehdi, all that stuff. The grand bargain that you were talking about was an unofficial proposal, never formally endorsed by Iran, relayed by the Swiss ambassador to George W. Bush in the wake of 9/11, right? Going around, as you said, in 2003.
But it was 2003, right around when George Bush was about to attack Iraq. And again, if you look at it at that time,
Right.
right, look at their intentions. At that time, they actually helped America invade both Iraq and Afghanistan. Again, it's for their own selfish intent,
Correct.
right?
For around
And
yeah.
how I would explain their ideological intent here is when the revolution first happened, it was 80% of the people were true believers, 20% were charlatans. Right now, it's the other way around. It's 80% charlatans, 20% true believers.
Yeah.
And again, I might sound biased here, but based on the non empirical date. Again, I'm obviously originally Iranian. I used to live in Iran too, and again, I've been to those ceremonies. I don't want to say what the the ceremonies, the stupid things that you guys see on the news all the time, and
Markbar
they would
Mamrika.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Magbar, whoever, right? And then there's always the English and Israel, right? And what they would have to do is they would have to force us. They would force us to go there, and you know what? Towards the end, they were incentivizing, like, hey, you want some free food? You want to go off, get out early for school or work or whatever? And again, to most people, it's like, dude, bro, what are you doing? Again, that's the general vibe. Because again, the best way I could describe it is like the Communist Party, right?
Yeah.
There were a lot of true believers, but then did they really believe it? It's just, you don't want to be the first guy that says, oh, I defect. Because if you're the first guy, you're dead. But if you're guy number 4, you're cool, right?
Yeah. You don't want to be the
And
first guy to
that's
stop clapping, so to speak. Yeah. 100%.
exactly. And that's the situation we're in, right? And the Iranian opposition, one of the issues that they've done is, because again, it's a psychological issue where they've become so un-Islamic to the point where they've become just as ruthless as the regime, and I don't blame them. They're saying, "Oh, we're going to hang these people. We're going to do whatever." So imagine you're one of these, charlatans, right? Not the true ideological, the 80%, not the 20%. You're like, okay, uh, I can stay with this regime, and they're rolling the dice with the regime, or I could go and roll the dice with a revolution, or defect, and guess what happens to me? Holy crap! So again, they're helping Israel on the down low, and then getting asylum for their family to go wherever. You know what I mean? Again, because like, as good as Mossad is, right, in terms of intelligence, they don't have, they're not sending Israelis to Iran. It's typically people within the regime that are like, hey, Israel, here's where this meeting's happening, and Israel's like,
Oh,
okay, cool.
100%. 100%.
I
Yeah.
mean,
100%.
So,
Israel
and
was literally building bases in Iran. Mossad was building bases
exactly.
in
Where have you ever
Iran. So
seen that?
that's not,
This kind of
you know,
intelligence, it's crazy, right? That tells you something, that the people within the regime, right, for different reasons. So, again,
well, that
mind you,
wasn't people in
I'm
the regime. That
well
was Israelis.
within
No, but there
society.
are a lot
Yes.
of
So,
there's clearly a lot of collaborators. That part is true, right? You can't
yeah,
there's a lot. They're thoroughly infiltrated. Whether some people are just ideologically disillusioned, right, or other people are just scared, or other people are whatever the different motivations for people. But do you remember the story, Cav, that Ahmadinejad told years ago after he was it was after he was president, but
yeah,
he told the story, right? For people who don't know, he told the story how he formed Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, when he was the president of Iran, he formed a committee to try to find the Zionist, spies in the government, right? And then it turned out that the head of the committee and most of its members ended up being, according to him, ended up being, Israeli spies or collaborators or whatever, So yeah, they're definitely thoroughly infiltrated, but the ones who aren't cooperating with that, I think a lot of them are still. I'm talking about the leadership, not the common people. Are definitely true believers. Wahidi
And
and
again,
Moshe yeah, all
it's
those guys.
it's at a societal level, like you've never seen, like, when Iranians are very patriotic people, right? Like, just to give you guys some context here, last year when Israel attacked Iran, everybody was against Israel. They're like, what the hell is Israel? This is an illegal war, blah blah blah. Versus now, because again, the regime did what I call an own goal, right? That's my term. You can coin it. You can steal it if you want. They basically, by doing that massacre, because literally, the number is between 30,000 to 100,000. So if you go with the third degree, pretty much everybody within Iranian society knows somebody that was killed by the regime, to the point where they're like, no, we're done. Like, do you know what I mean? Because for someone to be that desperate to beg a foreign country to come bomb you, you have to be at your breaking point. If that, again, mind you, they were at the breaking
Yeah,
point economically
yeah.
and socially, but then it was just something else, right? And you guys weren't in Iran. You guys didn't watch Iranian TV, to the point where the regime would just make fun of people. They'd say, "Oh, um, there's a." I'm sure if you can look for the clip where basically they're talking about, "Hey, um, where are all the dead people? Are they in ice cream vans, in fridges?" And again, the way they would mock people on TV, and they would say, "Oh, your protest meant nothing." And again, whatever, right? The regime is not good at it. The one good thing is the regime is full of incompetent people, and the reason why is, um, Qasem Soleimani. He was the last competent person that this regime had. Like, I don't know if I'm sure you guys, again, I'm saying this from an objective
Yeah,
standpoint. When Qasem
yeah.
Soleimani was
Soleimani
alive,
was a legendary terrorist, in
it
terms of being
like
competent.
if you look at the landscape in 2018, 2019, Israel was on the defensive, Iran was on the offensive. Again, from the proxy war standpoint, when he died, because basically Khamenei, like I said, Khamenei hires and promotes people that seem religious. Because again, for him, he looks at, how ideological are you, and how loyal you are to me. By me, I mean Khamenei. You can imagine that's not the most competent person. Versus Soleimani would hire people that he would knew would be, competent. So you can imagine, as time went on, the denigration of the regime happened, where, to the point where they lost their crown jewel, which is Syria. They lost everything, right? And they I don't know if they allowed it or they encouraged it, because during Soleimani's
Hezbollah,
time,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
during Soleimani's time, he would have not, he would have done October 7th in a more ruthless and more coy way. So I know it sounds terrible. I'm
No,
condemning
no, you're
October
right.
7th,
You're right.
but basically, um,
Thank God, President Trump took him out. In the first term.
Gentlemen,
yeah,
I
yeah,
know that Stealth said she only has a few minutes, so let's let Cam jump in and then you can chat until Stealth is needing to jump. So, Cam, go ahead.
sure.
Well, thank you, Angela, and hey everybody. And I just want to be clear up front. Everything I say tonight is my personal views only, not speaking for anybody but myself. Just Cam, glass of wine, Sunday night, talking about what's happening in the world. Anyways, we're on day 30 for the Iran and war, and I just what's happened in the last 48 hours, it has been moving fast, and Tehran, it went dark tonight. I mean, the strikes, they hit the power infrastructure across Tehran, and the Alborz province, and Trump threatened the power grid as leverage, and tonight he proved that it wasn't a bluff. And the IAEA confirmed that the severe damage to um, Iran's Kandab heavy water plant. So that's weapons grade plutonium. So we're watching denuclearization happen in real time. While we're talking about it, it's actually happening in real time. So the Houthis, they entered the war on Saturday, but meanwhile, we have to think about how Iran, are they funding the Houthis right now? Probably not. Maybe they're telling the Houthis, oh, okay, the money is coming. Maybe they sent them a little bit of a payment just to keep them on the teat. I don't know. I have no evidence to show that, but there were some ballistic missiles fired at Israel, sirens in Beersheba near Israel's nuclear research facility. So the war is definitely widening. And Americans, 15 wounded in Prince Sultan Air Base on Friday, 5 critical. They hit the AWACS surveillance plane in the KC-135 refueling tankers. 300 plus Americans wounded in total. 13 killed since it started. So this is getting very serious, folks. And the IRGC is threatening American university campuses in the Gulf. So that's Texas A&M Qatar, NYU Abu Dhabi. The deadline is Monday noon Tehran time. So that is insane. So peace through strength. It's not like a bumper sticker, right? Iran has been waging proxy war against us for decades. So Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, all Iranian money, all Iranian weapons, Iranian training. America first. It doesn't mean America blind. Trump ran, and he's been saying this for years too, folks. I mean, he ran on stopping forever wars, and he ran on not letting Iran get the nuke. Those are not contradictions. They're actually one and the same. I mean, and I actually want to build on what you just said. Because you're making a really important point, maybe without realizing it, because you're telling us that after Soleimani, the regime promoted yes men and religious loyalists over competent operators, and that's the quality of leadership. That's when it collapsed. That they lost Syria, they lost the proxy networks, and October 7th. I mean, it was a devastating operation. 1,200 murdered, and so many hostages. But I mean, to think that could have been a quote unquote botched version of what a competent Iran would have done had Soleimani been alive. I mean, that is terrifying, and that's the argument for what's happening right now. I mean, you don't wait for them to rebuild. You don't wait for the next Soleimani to emerge. And Trump understood this. The regime is at its weakest point in 45 years. Their heavy water plant just got hit. Tehran went dark tonight. Dark. 70% of the ballistic missile launchers are neutralized. The Houthis, they're firing missiles at Israel because Iran can't do it effectively themselves anymore. I mean, think about that. They're not just proxies of Iran. They're literally doing it because Iran can't do it themselves. They're outsourcing because they're degraded. So this is the window. This is peace through strength, and it means you act when the enemy's weak. It's not when they have a decade to reconstitute, and that's the whole Dunroe doctrine right there.
Word, Cam. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
How is just out of curiosity, what's the
I
stance?
like the one glass wine, Cam.
Thank
What's the
you.
stance of Congressman Hamadeh at the moment, as far as you know, his official stance or unofficial stance?
Well, again, I'm just here,
You're
speaking
just you. You're
solely on
just you. No, I'm
myself.
wondering what his stance is. Yeah,
You know, you can go ahead and look in my bio and click on his Twitter. I'm just here
fair
as
enough.
myself.
Fair
But
enough. Fair
Dude,
enough.
how do you wait to get on, buddy?
I'll let you chill. I'll let you chill.
yeah, and you look. I respect that you have a perspective here, and everybody has a perspective. But the IRGC, I'm just here because the IRGC just threatened American university students in the Gulf. I just logged on tonight, as Cam, and very clear.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking here as myself.
Cam, I'd like to know what the U.S. has with having campuses over there. Seriously.
Well, they're like they're like
There's style like
satellite.
campuses.
Yeah.
So it's a moneymaker for the university where basically they just rent out their name
Yeah.
and they charge the students like exorbitant fees. And this,
They're not American students, right? They're Qatari
no, they're not.
students.
They're not.
No, they're
They're
not. I
they're
mean,
they're they're not.
it's like the American University in
But what kind of
Sulaymaniyah.
access does it get them? But what kind of access does it get them to American universities
Very,
for
very high
postgraduate
Very
level.
work
little. I
or,
mean,
you
it
know,
No.
gets them an American
you say that,
university on their
Cam, but we
No,
have a
resume.
big issue.
there has been issues there. There has
Look,
been
I mean,
issues.
they gave us a deadline for Monday. And by the way, what I can tell you is what I think personally. And personally, I think the strikes are justified and the timing is right. And, these aren't the actions of a confident regime. They're actions of a desperate one. And yeah, I mean, you've got these American universities, Texas A&M, NYU, they gave us this deadline for Monday. I mean, desperate regimes with nuclear ambitions are more dangerous, not
Yeah,
less. You can't wait right now. That's why you don't wait. That's why Trump's not waiting.
absolutely.
The ironic
Okay,
thing
guys,
from
I'm sorry I have to close. I'm sorry. I know there's
no
like
problem,
600 people in here,
no
but
problem.
um, I can go until the space drops. So that's what
Stealth
I'll.
has a life, guys. We can
Yeah, I'm
celebrate
sorry.
that.
I
Thank you for
do.
all the work you do here.
I do. I do. Thank you guys so much. Retweet the space, and we covered a lot about mostly about the